is your fundraiser going this year? If it's anything less than amazing, it's time to talk to Shawn Murphy at FanPledge. No product to sell, nothing to deliver, and guaranteed results. Raise at least 10% more than your current donation based fundraiser, or it's free. Fun, fast, proven. Call Shawn at 903-948-7348. FanPledge. The champions are already on board. Are you? Band Yap is proudly sponsored by Troubadour Consultants. When it comes to planning group travel for your fine arts program, look no further than Troubadour Consultants. Whether you're organizing a major out-of-state trip or need top-notch accommodations for the state marching contest, John Mize and his team are ready to create a custom travel experience that meets your band's unique needs. As a family-owned, band director-run company, Troubadour understands exactly what it takes to make your trip stress-free and seamless. Plus, when you book a trip with Troubadour, they will sponsor a $500 college scholarship for a student in your band. Directors who book will also receive a free Mollard baton as a special thank you. Visit troubadourconsultants.com today to start planning your next trip with the experts who truly get it.
And I remember wanting to play trombone, and Cherry Kroll, God rest her soul, said, "I'm not buying you one of those. You can be a percussionist because I don't have to buy anything if you're a percussionist." And I was like, work. I just want to be a band. Absolutely. The type of person who's watching like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade or the Rose Parade, and the bands come down, I'm crying because I'm like, I know they're so proud. They are so proud to represent their home state, their school. Those kids are so proud in there. I'm somebody's mom watching behind the couch like, look at them. They're so happy down there. Oh my God, that is so fun for them.
Hello and welcome back to Band Yap. My name is Alexis Sanchez.
And I'm Jose Sanchez.
And we have a dear friend here with us today. We have Justin Kroll.
Love.
Hi, Justin.
Hey.
I just feel like you're like saying a sermon at a funeral.
You know, I really don't remember.
Someone here today.
I have what to say.
He's being very intentional.
Yeah. Our Lord and Savior.
And I'm just so happy to have you here today.
I will walk off this podcast
with every eye closed and every head bowed.
Yep. It's like
I will leave.
That's the way it feels every single time. Like, take us to church. Take us to church.
And I need one chapel credit. I need one more swipe.
You didn't save all your skips to the end.
Something like that.
I miss the days where we could just take a nap in the middle of the row.
You can't do that.
Don't they have people that come and wake you up now?
Yeah. Like, it's a whole entire thing.
That's ugly.
Yeah. Well, they moved like...
Well, now you can do different like chapels. I think they have a chapel in Armstrong Browning now.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. I think you can take your chapel in Armstrong Browning. Like if you're interested in more traditional
like service.
Stuff, yeah. And then they have like the contemporary stuff, I think, in Waco Hall still.
No.
I don't know. I don't go there anymore. You know what I mean? It's been a while.
If you don't know what we're talking about having to take chapel at Baylor and what that looks like.
Yeah. Well, they moved Dia to like a Tuesday now.
For the best.
Depending who you were.
Well, after that, they set that dumpster on fire. I think that kind of fizzled. Quite
well, are people just going to skip Mondays now? Because everybody skips Fridays when it was on Thursday.
I think Monday and Wednesday.
Monday and Wednesday.
Well, anyway, we got Justin here today. And Justin is an interesting guest because he's not a band director. And I think he's our first guest who has not now nor ever been a band director.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I think it's about the journey, honestly.
Well, yeah,
Well, I don't work in Texas either.
That's true.
Or in high school.
That's true.
What am I doing here?
Well, like we've talked about this, is that like your journey to where you are now is
sorted.
It's something that's like really impressive because we've said this on the pod before, or people have said this on the pod, that music is the vehicle to making good people, and like band is the vehicle, choir is the vehicle, just like that's what you want. Is like people leave high school and have their musical experiences, and like it takes you somewhere. And I think you using band as a vehicle to find your true passion and where you're at is very important to like just understanding how people get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to know. So on that note, which is an A flat, tell us about yourself.
Not even.
It could be worse. It could be a D flat. Does anybody like D flat?
That's my
do.
favorite key.
I like
D
that.
flat major. Yes, absolutely. It's so round.
Yeah.
This is not the first time I've heard him say that either.
No, that's fun. At least I'm telling the same stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, the consistency.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about yourself, background, education,
Yeah, absolutely.
all that fun stuff?
So my name is Justin. I am currently an assistant professor of voice and the director of opera workshop at Northeastern State University in Tahlequah, Oklahoma.
Can you spell that for us?
Tahlequah.
I always call it Tahlequah.
I think that I say Tahlequah. I think it's Tahlequah, but that doesn't fit in the mouth, if you know what I mean.
Emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yeah. So Tahlequah is the seat of the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. And it's a really interesting place. The reason I'm here is because I'm also the color guard instructor for the Riverhawk marching band at NSU. But I grew up in Marlin, Texas, and went to high school in Mart, Texas.
He's from Marlin.
That's right.
Lynn.
Marlin, darlin.
Marlin, and then ended up in Well, so like when you think like small town football towns, like especially Texas, like small, it is Mart, Texas. Like the head football coach's name was Rusty Nail.
Big time. When I was in high school, it was Rusty Nail. Yes. Because we won state when I was a junior, and it was under the tutelage of Mr. Rusty Nail.
Just like, that's when you know, like, this is like gridiron grit. Your head football coach's name is Rusty Nail.
Right.
Oh.
And I didn't play football. I was in the marching band.
You didn't play football?
I surely didn't. I went to one practice, I think in 7th or 8th grade. And I didn't like wearing the helmet. That wasn't any fun for me. And then I got out there and they were talking about plays and they were talking about numbers and everybody knew what was going on. You know what I mean? They would be like, we need to do this. I'm not even going to try and fake a play number for you. But like, call the play. And everybody just knew. And I had no freaking clue. I had no idea. I didn't know what was going on. And so I went to that one practice and then became the person that went out to get the tee after the kickoff. Huh. So I would trot out there and get the tee. And carry the bag with the tape.
Yeah.
And stuff.
You're like a manager.
Get the water bottles to them.
Athletic trainer.
Something like that. Yeah, but I was not playing football. And then in high school in Texas, you can be in band. If you're in band all 4 years, it's half a PE credit per year. So I did all my 2 PE credits being in marching band. So I was interested in that. So I was in marching band, yes. I was a drum major and a percussionist in high school.
This is news to me.
I didn't know you were a drum major. I knew you were a percussionist. But
didn't you know? What do you mean you didn't know?
Just kidding. Of course I knew that.
I actually didn't know that.
You didn't?
Yes.
Drum major? Oh my gosh, yes.
Get into it.
We were like, I wouldn't say that our schools weren't rivals because we were terrible at football, but like we would go to the games and I'd be like, oh, there's Justin.
Didn't you guys like Axel borrowed timpani from us or something?
Yeah, probably.
Or you came to Mart to like practice on the timpani.
That sounds right because we didn't own timpani. Fun fact about me and my percussion journey, I forgot about that until now. Yeah, we didn't have timpani.
Well, because Alexa and I were in the Central Texas Honor Band together.
Okay. Let's hold on. Yes. Like time out. There's a whole lot of story here that people don't understand. And we're getting that. So let's back up. Like, okay, so small town apart, and you were a percussionist, you were a drum major.
Big time.
Okay. So tell us about like your experience in band in Mart, Texas, which is a 2A school.
It was 2A when I was in high school.
I think there's still 2A.
There's still 2A.
Okay.
But like they actually produce several like NFL football players.
Yeah.
There's not like one. I think there's multiple.
The one isn't. This is the one that I know, LaDainian Tomlin.
Yeah, he
went to Chilton.
He went to Chilton?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Or he grew up in Chilton or something.
Did he go to Mart?
Juan Cosby was the one that went.
Yeah.
Cosby. That's
Yeah.
okay. That sounds right.
And he was in high school like just a little bit before me.
Huh.
But I mean, band in Mart I think was like better than you might think it would be for a town that was really not focused at all and unapologetic about it on the arts.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I had a great time in high school, right? I loved marching band. I loved concert band. I didn't really love being a percussionist, but like that's what I had to deal with, I guess, or that was my lot in life at the moment.
How did you end up on percussion?
Let me tell you this. In 5th grade, we did the little music test. And in order to be a percussionist, you had to score high. Like the top scorers on the music test were offered the opportunity to be a percussionist.
Yes.
And I remember wanting to play trombone. And Cherry Kroll, God rest her soul, said, I'm not buying you one of those. You can be a percussionist because I don't have to buy anything if you're a percussionist. And I was like, work. I just want to be a band. Absolutely. So I did percussion and that was fine with me. So being a percussionist was cool. I loved, like I said, I loved marching band. I loved concert band. And then when it came down to it, I wanted to go to college and be a band director. And so I would sort of talk about it, right? When I'm a senior and people ask you what you're going to do. And I said, well, I'm going to study music. I'll be music ed major, and I'm going to be the director of the Baylor Golden Wave Marching Band. That's my career plan. And I remember the principal like called me into his office and was like, so I heard you're going to go to school to study music. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that is the dumbest thing you could ever do. He was like, you are so smart. And like, why would you do that? Mind you, he has an English degree. Not that there's anything wrong with getting an English degree, but you know, it's not like he has an engineering degree or something. You know what I mean? So I like vividly remember that and being like, that is hurtful to me, but I'm going to do that anyway because that's what I want to do. And it worked out, right? I mean, I went to MCC in Waco and eventually wound up at Baylor, not as a music ed major, but you know, we can get into that, I guess. But I had a great time at Mart, and I had a very nice and helpful band director, Kim Tribble, who in a really fun turn of events retired to a lake house on Lake Tenkiller in Oklahoma, which is the lake closest to Tahlequah where I live now. And I see her often.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I see her at 2 different places. The 2 most common places I see her are at parades when I'm with the marching band.
Of course, yeah.
Because she is with the Cherokee County Republicans. Love that for her. And I'm with the marching band, and it's fun. And what's also really fun is the Tahlequah High School band director, Kim Tribble, was also her high school band director.
Oh my God.
In Locust Grove, Oklahoma. And she went to Arkansas because Trib went to Arkansas. And so like it's all really fun. And so I see her at parades and I see her down at the Cherokee Casino sometimes.
I mean, does she engage with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. She's always like super nice. We took like a picture once, me and Linnell, the Tahlequah High School band director, and her, because that was fun.
We're going to have to send her this podcast.
And then I saw her, like, the last time I saw her at the casino, and she was, let's say, taking care of business at the slot machine she was currently at.
Those penny slots.
Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. And she was like, she didn't get up. I was like, oh, hey, David, how are you doing? You know? And she didn't get up. She hardly looks at me. She was like, I got something I want to.
Yeah.
And then it was like the next week I saw her down at the Chili's in Tahlequah.
I didn't realize there was a Chili's
There we do got a Chili's in Tahlequah.
Good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm getting the mozzarella sticks, the tiny hamburgers, and the cheeseburger egg rolls. Is that no? What am I talking about? That's that's Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
Mozzie sticks, tiny hamburgers.
Yes. Sliders.
And the honey chipotle chicken crispy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's what I had gotten. But I saw her as I was leaving, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't get to say, hello. Let me come hug your neck." She's really nice, and like, it's so fun to be able to do that now and think back to when I was like 15 and 16, like sitting in her office in the band hall because like I wanted to talk to her about band, and about music and like pick out music and like, can I have the key to go look through the music that we got? Can I pick out rep for the band? You know what I mean? that's fun to like now be a professional. Now, has she come to any of the concerts at NSU? I don't think so. I didn't see her there, but she got a lake house. She's got stuff going on.
She's busy.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
She's at the casino. Yeah.
Which, like, after I retire, am I going to go to the college in town's concert that I have no affiliation with? Probably not. But hey, whatever.
So you're at Mart, you're a drum major, do all those wonderful things, and then you make your way over to MCC, and you are a music education major at that point.
Yes. So I attend McLennan Community College in Waco, which, um, for those of you listening out in the void, hello, dear void. If you're McLennan Community College has a bang up community college program in Texas, and I cannot sing its praises enough.
Well, I went to Baylor like right out the gate, and I can tell you what, a lot of the people who went to MCC first, I feel like have a better understanding of like basic music theory,
Yeah.
better than I ever did.
Well, it's so wild because I teach now oral theory, so like sight singing and ear training 1 and 2 at NSU in Tahlequah, and I think all the time about like, okay, how did they do this when I was in MCC? Like, how did we present this concept? What did we do? Because I feel like teaching that class comes with so much pressure to like make sure that little musicians like know what to do. Because it's such an important skill, like being able to like identify intervals, especially for the band directors, and and for the choir directors. For all of them, it's a skill that you have to have. And so sometimes it's like if they're not getting something, I'm like, well, it's me, right? I'm not like teaching it as good as I could. And so I think back to like, what did we do at MCC, which that was in 2008, 2009.
Well, I think that also says a lot to like how you learned. Because, like, there are so many, and I don't know about you and Alexa, but I always felt so jealous of other people who had, like, the resources and the benefits of going to a larger school
Yeah.
where they could do things
Oh, sure.
a little bit differently. And because, I mean, for you, what did your band director play? Trumpet.
Trumpet.
She was a trumpet player. So, like,
Or
there's
euphonium, I think.
I thought she played trumpet.
I thought she played trumpet.
I think trumpet was like her like instrument when she stopped. I think she was a euphonium player in college.
Oh, I just remember her in the community band.
She did play trumpet.
Playing trumpet.
Because I think she was like, this is for fun. Let me play this.
Well, I mean, there are just certain things like percussionists are able to teach percussionists.
Yeah.
There's only certain things like flute players can really, I mean, you can learn those skills, but inherently there are certain instruments that are just like, if you have that teacher, it's going to work out better. I feel like percussion is one of those.
Oh, yeah.
And then clarinet, I feel like the other.
Yeah. Or double reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a singer now, which is so fun. So singers are notoriously have bad rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And so I have great rhythm because I was a percussionist. And so people can clock it. Sometimes I'll be like, did you do band in high school? And I'll say, I surely did. Yes, I was a percussionist. I know that rhythm's good, ain't it?
So MCC, music education. So what ends up happening then?
So I go to MCC. I major in music or I'm doing music at MCC, which is not sort of. It's the first 2 years, so it's all kind of the same. And I'm a percussionist, and I'm having an okay time. I'm not really loving percussion lessons because I didn't have any private lessons on anything in high school. I would just come to the band hall early and practice. I didn't have like hourly. I didn't have a percussion instructor. So my first percussion lesson was like my first lesson in college, which I think is true for a lot of small school people. But I really was not into it. Wasn't feeling it, And so I started class piano just like everyone else and was really interested in that because I really liked sort of like the melody and harmony aspect of music that really wasn't there a lot of times in percussion music playing. And that sounds so dumb to say, but like,
no, I mean, you're right. I mean, other than the fact that the piano is a percussion instrument.
Yeah, but it makes prettier sounds sometimes.
It does. And so I was really into that. So I kind of like blazed through the like piano for the developing musician.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is like, did you ever learn 4-mallet when you were in high school?
I did a little, not a lot. I did mostly when I got to MCC because Trib kind of showed me how to hold them, but it wasn't like she was with me when I practiced giving me tips.
Like
You
Yeah.
know what I
Steven's
mean?
grips,
Right. So it's
seminar.
not like,
Yeah.
so I'm sure, like, I think I did solo an ensemble once and I didn't see the comments. And I'm sure they were like, what is this fool doing? What is, what kind, this idiot, what is this grip?
We had a student, our percussion director who's leaving us to go up to Illinois, gave a book to one of our percussionists. And which book was it?
Method of Movement.
Yeah, which is written by who?
Lee Howard Stevens.
He didn't understand the fact that Steven's grip was
That, okay, sure. I got you.
Well, I was the one that explained that to him because I said, it's Method of Movement. It's, by Lee Howard Stevens. And he looked at me for a second and he said, Stevens.
He said it's all coming.
And I said, yeah, like the grip. He was like,
so that light bulb come on
He said,
real.
I never would have known.
uh-huh.
So like, I mean, just like some of those things that you were talking about, like the harmonies and stuff like that. I mean, if you're playing for mallet marimba, you kind of get exposed to that a little bit earlier, but that's not the same. That wasn't the journey that you took.
Right.
And so getting into college, playing piano, going through that process, it allowed you to find some other venue that made you happy.
Yeah. Yes. And so I like was doing piano lessons and I think I like sort of accelerated my class piano. And so by the time I was a sophomore, right, looking to transfer, I was in private piano lessons, which maybe was in the degree plan. I don't know. So I auditioned to transfer to Baylor. I took a very like Elwood stance in that like I didn't apply to anything else that Baylor. And when people would be like, what are you gonna do if you get in? I'd be like, I'm going to Baylor. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't need backups. I'm going to Baylor. Because that was what I wanted to do, right? That was like I had gone to the football games my whole life and I wanted to be in the marching band and I wanted to like be there. And so I auditioned as a percussionist and I did not get into the percussion studio. Mr. Todd Meehan said, absolutely not. He said, ain't no way. And so I go back to MCC and I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to Baylor. I don't need backups, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to take a gap year. And so I like told my piano teacher, Dr. Ruth Pitts, love Ruth Pitts. I was like, what am I going to do? And she was like, well, I mean, what are you going to major in at Baylor? And so at that point, I was like looking to switch from music ed, right? Because I was like, I don't want to be a percussionist anymore. I don't have any other instrument I could switch to. I can't be a band director and have primary instrument as piano. It's not going to work. So I was like, well, I'm going to major in music history at Baylor. Because at Baylor, you can get a BM in music history. Let me tell you that. Which I do hold. So you can get a BM in music history. So I was like, well, I can do that because then I wouldn't have to have a primary instrument really, but it could be piano maybe. And so Dr. Pitts called the head of the piano department and was like, this idiot, he's really in a spot. Can we do something with him? And basically like talked her way into like a special audition for me to audition for the piano department and be a music history major. And they let me in. And so I got the BM at Baylor 3 years later in music history, primary instrument piano. Isn't that wild? But since I was a pianist, I couldn't be in the bands really because I wasn't going to be in a progression, Todd Meehan was going to be like, yeah, put him in the wind ensemble. You know what I mean? So I was in the choirs then at Baylor and I started singing. And so I took a voice lesson over the summer because I had gone to MCC and all the there's like 6 faculty. They all knew each other. And so they had said like, Justin, in your sight singing class, your voice is pretty good. Maybe you should just take a voice lesson for fun. And so I took one voice lesson with Lisa Uhl, who is like probably my biggest mentor.
Yeah.
Now turned out to be. And it was like, I took a voice lesson and it was like the thing that fit, it was like all these years I've been looking for this thing that's like really the thing for me. And so it fit. And so I switched to voice, which is really, I really am a singer at my core. I got to tell you. And so
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
You tell me, Diva, this is your podcast.
think diva is the right word.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of channel a Whitney Houston kind of vibe.
Stop, please. I have nothing.
You want to sing the national anthem in 4/4?
No, I'll get canceled just like the Golden Wave did. Remember those 2 games? Was it just 2
It was
games or
just
just one?
one. It was one game.
One game.
It was whack.
Ooh.
But that arrangement they do is the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That arrangement's really good. So you switch over. You're doing music. Well, and throughout this whole entire, journey, you have a great connection with Alexa. So
We surely do.
how long have you known Alexa?
Okay, so I did. What did we meet in the Centex Honor Band?
The Centex Honor Band.
Is that where we first ever crossed paths together?
Yes, when I was a freshman in high school.
Okay, you were a freshman. I was a junior.
So
Yes.
for people who don't understand what Centex Honor Band is, can one of you elaborate on the
Please,
inner
as the current band
workings?
director,
Okay.
please take us.
So the current band director is what qualifies me. So the Centex Honor Band is an honor band organization in the Central Texas area,
Love
and it is
for small schools only.
back
Right?
in the day. I feel like
Well, it
It
used
was
to
2A and under back then,
it was
wasn't it?
3A and under. I'm
Who
pretty
told
sure.
you that?
No, it was.
pretty
It was.
sure it
It was.
was.
3A. It was in the old system when it was like
I
3A
feel
down.
like there were some like Robinson
there-
kids. or
yeah.
something.
No.
Yes.
Yes, there used to be and that used to be a thing, and I think it was a little bit more centralized to actually like the greater Waco area. And
Well, what
not-
about Waywee? Were you in the
I
Waco
was
area?
not. I
with
was.
wind on.
I was not quality enough for Wayley at the time.
Please.
Yeah. But the Centex Honor Band, it was basically like Region Band Light, I would say.
So fun.
The audition material wasn't as rigorous.
Please. Girl, I went up in there, and when I got the call, let me tell you, it was as if I had gotten the Presidential Medal of Honor. I mean, it was like, you people cannot take me.
Yeah, and I feel like
Next stop, Allstate, man.
that ensemble is like so important though for kids like us because honestly, you make the Centex Honor Band, it is a thing, you
It's
know?
from nowhere.
Yeah, you also have to sight read on that audition.
And that was always the interesting thing is that like you have to prepare a slow and a fast,
Well, I always freaked out about the sight reading
and
part of
then
it.
you're required to do sight reading.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the side reading. I
Oh,
gotta tell you.
Centex.
I think there was also like, and I could be wrong in remembering this. I think there was only like one judge in the
No.
room.
Was
There's
it blind?
Yeah, it was blind.
But there was always more than one.
But it was also, and I think it's still like this, even though the Allstate
Recent.
process has changed. No, it might be.
It was in Riesel both times I did it when I auditioned.
The auditions.
I think
They were in
it's
Riesel,
McGregor.
weren't they? No.
No, the audition was in Riesel, and it probably still is. Because shout out Crystal
No,
Sensei.
no,
Hell.
because when I was so Richard Crowder
Uh-huh.
used to be in charge of Centex, and then after that it was John Shriver.
Shriver.
Yeah, Trevor. And now it is Crystal. Sensei.
Yeah.
So I remember it being at McGregor at one point in time.
The auditions.
The auditions.
Oh.
I never
Well,
auditioned.
we used to do the auditions at Riesel
Yeah.
and the concert at McGregor. And I know now for the past few years the concert's been at Conley,
Get out of here.
but I don't know where the auditions have been. But it was a big deal. I mean, and it, like I was saying, they've changed the Allstate process to where percussionists are holistic auditioning. But for Centex, I believe it's still timpani, snare drum,
okay.
and keyboard.
Love.
I think it's still like that.
Okay, so I did keyboard and Alexa did timpani.
I did. I was the principal timpanist all 4 years of high school.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Yeah. So Justin and I were in the the Centex honor band. We were both in the top band, and
Where there's more than one?
yeah, there's 2 bands.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
We were in the top one both times.
Yeah.
I was in the top one both.
Uh
Todd Behan didn't take you?
huh.
Can you believe that?
Sure, that was on your resume when you auditioned too.
Well, you know it was. I don't even know if I had a resume at that time in my life. I gotta tell you. I must have had. I don't know.
You got a bang up one now though.
I know that's right. Shout out to Sanchez resume builders.
Yeah, but it was just like a really formative experience, and that's how I met Justin, obviously.
Fun.
And we our schools are really close to each other. Axel's a little bit smaller actually than Mart is. The town is definitely smaller. I think they're the same classification of school now, but at the time Mart was bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's That's how we got together.
I just remember like my senior year, you know, that they had that with a xylophone feature
Yes.
for me and that girl Jessie.
Mm-hmm.
Rip.
Yeah.
I shouldn't think she died.
Yeah, she did.
She was so nice though. She was so
And they were.
She was really kind. She went to Leon, Jewett Leon,
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And Justin and Jesse were the
two keyboardists.
two keyboard players, and it was
The song was called "Serenade to a Picket Fence,"
Uh-huh.
and let me tell you, my family still talks about it.
Uh-huh.
That was a formative moment for them.
We played we played literature in that band that I wouldn't have played in my band hall for sure.
Oh, absolutely not.
We played that. What is that piece? Regenesis. Do you know what I'm talking about?
All I remember was
The
we played an
volcano?
arrangement of a Bach Prelude and Fugue, which was turnt.
I vaguely remember that.
It was in B flat. I remember that.
Of course it was.
And then, okay, well, what about it? And then we played an arrangement that Franz Biebel Ave Maria
Oh yeah,
for double
that.
chorus, which is really good.
Yeah, that's
really beautiful.
I played that a few years ago.
And then Serenade to a Picket Fence.
Yeah.
And that's all I got. That's all I remember.
I wish I had a recording of those. I wish there was like an archive. If somebody has those CDs, write in.
Drop it in the comments.
Drop it in the comments. Send it to us. Put it on Google Drive. I would love to hear those from
2006?
7?
2007. Were they in the fall or the spring?
Spring.
Okay, then 2007, 2008.
And then 2009 and 2010, because that's when I graduated high school. If you have any Centex Honor Band recordings, please send them.
Well, if you have a video, really drop it, because Trib let me wear my drum major cape last year,
Yeah.
which was a really great moment for me, and was absolutely stupid because I was trying to play those xylophone solos with that freaking cape on. She also let me keep that cape. I think they got new uniforms after I graduated, so she was like, "You can keep the cape if you want." And I said, "I do want."
Where is it?
I have no idea.
Oh.
It's probably in the cedar chest.
Yeah.
With my letter jacket, to be honest.
That was, I don't know, it was a big deal. And that was a big thing too, is like when you did the staging for the concert and everyone had their uniform on.
Oh,
you would,
it
like,
was so
together
fun. Oh my God, that
cool.
was so fun and cool.
Yeah. That was a big deal. That was in the McGregor cafeteria.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
fun.
Don't you remember, like, it must have been my first year that I did it. Both of our first years, because I only did it junior and senior year. But the Crowder, the guy from McGregor, don't you remember he had one of the first generation iPhones?
No, I do not remember this.
Look at this here, this iPhone. I remember that being like, for what? I got my little Nokia. I don't need that.
I do not remember
I
that.
had a BlackBerry.
I didn't get
You had a
I
BlackBerry
had a BlackBerry.
in high school?
Oh no.
Oh,
I had a BlackBerry when I was in MCC.
I didn't. I never had a BlackBerry. I wanted a Sidekick so bad. Oh my gosh. I never got one.
Well, you know, those girls that had those pink razors were really giving something.
Yeah.
Everything.
I remember.
I was really jealous.
Okay, when I was in junior high, Jesus got a razor, and we were like,
Whoa.
okay, big spender.
Okay.
That teacher salary be paying off.
I remember going to the Alltel store in Waco.
The
Alltel store, thank you so much. That was by the Fuddruckers.
Uh-huh.
Rip.
Rip, yes.
Next time.
Hastings.
Right, yes. And getting my first cell phone when I was in a junior in high school and picking it out, and they didn't have, because then you could only get razors if you had singular.
Yes.
And we had
It
Alltel.
was very,
Yeah.
very.
Thing?
No.
No.
I think that
It's
T-Mobile.
AT&T.
AT&T bought them.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
I don't know.
Somebody bought them.
Well, now, I mean, I have Verizon now, and the only reason I do is because Verizon bought Alltel.
Yeah. Oh. Well.
I've only had one phone number since I got that
So have I.
in 2007.
Oh, geez.
That's why we keep on getting them spam
Yeah.
calls.
I know.
Hello. Hello.
They really gate kept those phones.
Yeah,
Though.
they sure did. They sure did. So why band?
Well, I mean, I think for, a simple answer is like that was the avenue open to me, right? There was not a choir in Mart. There was no like singing that you can do. I just took, the music class in 5th grade, was into it, and then joined the band in 6th grade. And then sort of the rest is history, I guess, and then found out that I really liked marching band. Oh, what?
You just like this is like one of the best things I love about you is that you just don't like marching band. You love
I love
marching band.
I'm like those people, you like the type of person who's watching like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade or the Rose Parade, and the band comes on, the bands come down, I'm crying because I'm like, I know they're so proud. They are so proud to represent their home state, their school. Those kids are so proud in there. I'm somebody's mom watching behind the couch, like, look at them. They're so happy down there. Oh my God, that is so fun for them. Look at them on TV. The marching band from South Dakota, please.
We always text each other during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And then when people do the turn in the Rose Parade.
I tried to get the band director at NSU to submit the NSU marching band for the Thanksgiving Day Parade because since NSU is the it started as the Cherokee Ladies Seminary for the Cherokee Nation. So it is the university that has the largest number of Native American students that's not on a reservation. Although, because of there was like a recent Supreme Court case that like sort of decided that like the boundaries of the nation, I think, I'm not an enrolled member of the tribe, so I don't know. But I think what it is that Supreme Court case decided that the boundaries of the nations were still maintained their sovereignty that they had when they were established, when it was like Oklahoma was Indian territory. So, quote unquote, when you cross the boundary into the Cherokee Nation, you're crossing onto the Cherokee Reservation now, sort of.
Yeah.
So I said we should submit because we have all these Native American students in the marching band to march in the Thanksgiving Day Parade. That would be a cool thing. But the band at NSU is probably about the size of the band that was at Mart. It's about 40, 45. Which Mart also had a large marching band for a school of its size, which is cool. And the other really cool thing about Mart is that like there were people in the band who were also on the football team, and they would march at halftime in their pads, which was really cool, especially in Mart.
Yeah.
For them to be so football focused, to have the players come out in March.
Did you say this on the podcast that you guys won the state championship? Yeah, you did. The state championship?
When I was a junior in 2007.
Yeah.
And I think they've won several times since.
Yeah, they have. I remember too, because like we were in Centex honor band together, and then we sometimes would play football together. And so like I think it was your it was your senior year. I think maybe we played each other.
Well, it could have been the year after I graduated.
I remember that too. We played each other in playoffs that year.
Yes.
And you were there.
And I was there because I came back my freshman year of college to be the color guard instructor. Because I never marched color guard, but I was a big fan, let's say. And what I did was I couldn't do it, right? Because I could have, right? There was nothing stopping me, but I wasn't going to in a town like Mart in the mid 2000s, being as gay as I am. Let's just say.
You're gay?
Don't act like that. So I wasn't going to open myself up to that, let's say. But what I did is convince all my little gal friends who were flute players to join it. So they did. So then I would go to practice with them and I would just learn the routines. And so then I go to MCC and Trib's like, you want to come back and be the color guard instructor? I said, yeah, absolutely. Big time. So that was great. I was like, I'm getting professional experience and I'll like use that for when I like apply for band director positions. And then that sort of didn't work out, but I had a great time. And I think I did it for at least 1 year, maybe 2.
So, well, and that kind of plays into part of the role that you have now. And we were talking about this earlier, is that like your journey is very interesting, and like you were voicing like, oh, nobody's going to want to listen to me because like I'm not a band person. But like I think your journey for what you are now is like so interesting on what it takes to be resilient, and probably some of the like tools that you got from being in band and coming from a small school.
Yeah.
Because how involved were you in like other activities other than band?
I was like pretty like Mr. Mart High School. Like I think I was also president of the student council. I was never class officer, but I was like an officer in the Spanish club and like in the FCCLA. Is that a thing that still exists?
Yes.
family community
Yes.
of America. I don't know.
Some schools have it, some schools don't.
I did that. So I was like pretty involved in school, pretty like visible. Um, so yeah, and I think like that gave me a lot of like resilience, like you said, to like be able to be adaptive. And I think that serves me well now for when I like take auditions, right? As an opera singer, I like audition for a lot of different opera companies and like, like any singer or any person auditioning for anything, like faces a lot of rejection. You get 10 rejections for one yes. And so like having to sort of like go from one thing to the next or like one thing doesn't work out and I kind of pivot, but it's like I always knew I wanted to do music. And so being able to be resilient like that, I think has served me well as a professional.
So you go, you do your music history. What's after your music history degree?
So I get this BM in music history at Baylor, and then I explored the possibility of going to a master's program for musicology. And I went and toured at the University of Iowa and then was like, no. Came back and then decided to stay at Baylor and get a musicology degree. And then halfway through that was like, I think I'm going to audition to switch to voice and get a master of music in voice. And so that's what I did. I eventually did that. And so I took 3 years in the master's to get the or the MM in voice. Then I took 4 years off and worked at Armstrong Browning Library in Waco as the facilities assistant and set up tables and stayed late to facilitate events and took auditions and did some singing. And then I went to the University of Wisconsin to get my doctorate in musical arts in voice. And I started my doctorate in fall of 2020. I did all of my doctoral auditions spring, like January and February of 2020. Not knowing what would come.
And then moved to Madison.
Yeah. So I auditioned at USC, the Thornton School in University of Southern California in LA. And then I auditioned at the University of Utah. And then I auditioned at University of Wisconsin. And Wisconsin ended up offering me the most money. And so I was like, okay, great. So I moved to Madison and like, the pandemic started mid-March.
Mhm.
So Waco like closed down, everything closed down, right? So we all like go home, whatever. So then I'm like, looking at apartments and I leased an apartment. I moved to Madison in July and there was kind of, was there like a summer surge or like there was in 2020?
Yeah.
And so like the plan was at school, like over the summer, they were like, well, here's the operas we're going to do. Like, here's what you're cast to do the operas. Like, y'all come up here. And then, once the surge is over, then we'll open school up again. Well, what I didn't know about Madison, well, people would tell me like Madison is like paradise. It's heaven on earth. Right?
Yeah.
Anybody that had been there was like, Madison is incredible. And what I figured out is that they were so right, but they weren't right enough. Do you know what I mean? Madison is heaven on earth, truly. It is incredible. But it's also like one of the bluest places in America.
Yeah.
And so like if the red states were shut down, Madison was buttoned up. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I remember like us talking to you. You're like, Madison is woke.
Oh, girl, big time.
Woke.
Big time. And that was turned. That was so fun. Especially coming from Waco, right?
Yeah.
Because I had lived in Waco or Marlin my whole life.
Yeah, the Bible Belt.
Right. And so like moving to the Midwest and not like the corny Midwest, but like the fun Midwest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Madison likes to compare themselves to Austin, but I don't know if it's quite like that. Madison's cooler.
Austin's different now.
Y'all gotta go. Y'all could get up to Madison.
We have to take you with us.
I'm going this summer. I'm counting down the days.
We got a lot of places to go. We have children. That's the difficult part.
That's true. Y'all got all them kids.
So can you tell us on how small school has kind of like molded you as a person and you kind of touched on it, but more so as like an educator now?
Yeah. I mean, so I am a product of a small school, right? And now where I teach students who are also from small schools, also from rural parts of their state.
Yeah.
And so I get them and I understand them. And so for me, I mentioned like I didn't take any lessons in high school. I wanted to be a music major because I like had a great time in band and like wanted to continue having a great time. And so a lot of the students that we have are in that same boat, that it's like they had a great time in choir in high school. They had a great time in band in high school, and they continue. And they're not, you know, it's not like they're the top students in their band program, or they probably are in their small schools, but like we don't have a lot of people from Tulsa or from Oklahoma City because they go to OU or they go to OSU or something like that. So we have, the top students in the small programs around Tahlequah. And I get that because I was like probably the best person in Mart, playing in the band. And so I turned up somewhere and was suddenly surrounded by a bunch of other people who were also like the best people in their band. And that was like comforting, but because I'm also like the type of person who like really succeeds as being like a big fish in a small pond.
Well, like
I really get into that. Some people are like, I need to be like a little fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
I don't identify with that. I need to be a big fish in a small pond because I'm like the type of singer, and I tell my singers this, that like if I'm like faced with rejection after rejection after rejection, it's not probably going to like make me want to really keep going. It's going to break me down, So it's like we need a little bit, right, of success to keep going sometimes.
which is so funny because we're in such a profession, especially with like gigging musicians,
Yeah.
where like you're gonna face rejection more than you're gonna
Mhm.
like face acceptance.
Yeah.
And we're in such a subjective
Yeah.
profession that it's kind of like there's no W's and there's no L's. It's like honestly a lot of like, oh, this is the way I feel about that. Um, I have a really good relationship with our previous football coach. He's gone on to a different profession actually, and I have a really good relationship with our new current head coach. But like talking to the previous head coach, like having the discussion about like what marching band is and how things are like understood or evaluated is like hard for him to understand because he's so used to like, I scored 7 points, you didn't score any, I win. And that's like such a clear cut thing versus like what we do, which, okay, you missed a couple of pitches,
Mm.
but your expression and your
Right.
emotion to the audience
Mhm.
was like peak, and I can forgive that. Versus somebody who will not like, okay, you did all these things, but you missed pitches.
Yeah.
And so it's very subjective on how people are hearing that.
Mhm.
So like having that kind of understanding, um, it's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different. I thrive on being told how much I suck.
I think that's the band in you. That's the instrumentalist in you. Singers are sensitive.
At the same time, they eat their own young though.
Oh my God, it is crazy. It is so cutthroat, which is sort of exciting. I do love to do a voice competition. I love to be a competitor in a competition because I'm nuts. And so I love to be like, what are you singing? Oh, okay. Oh, that? Okay, sure. Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure it'd be good.
I want to come to Nats with you.
Oh my God.
One
Well,
time.
Texoma Nats. So I went to Baylor, right? So Baylor is in Texoma, the Texoma region of Nats, which is the National Association of the Teachers of Singing, which has every fall a conference for the region where they have student auditions where teachers can take their students to like compete against each other in the region, right? And Texoma is like the region is famous for being magnificently cutthroat. Flat tires in the parking lot. I mean, when I was in grad school, it was at Oklahoma City University in Oklahoma City, and I was in grad school, and so I was in graduate men, the division, and I had made it to the semifinals, but then was not advanced to the finals, and I thought I was really singing good. But my arch nemesis at Baylor, who I did not think was singing very good, in fact advanced to the finals, and I had a full blown crash out. And like went back to my hotel room, packed my bag, screamed at Edgar, cried at Edgar, called my mother on the phone, sobbed, and drove back to Waco that night.
Edgar is not the arch nemesis.
Edgar's not the
By
arch
the way.
nemesis.
He's a homie.
It's just a different vibe. It's a different vibe.
They are cutthroat. They are sensitive. They need a lot of caring. But the one thing is like there was a masterclass at Baylor that I went to, and it was a soprano named Laura Claycomb. And I don't know anything about technique, what she said at that master class, I don't know. But she asked my friend Kaylee, a soprano, she said, Are you the best soprano at Baylor? And that was like a wild question. That was a very pointed question. Are you the best soprano at Baylor? And she was like, I mean, sometimes I think, yes. And she goes, well, if you can't be the best soprano at Baylor, how are you going to be the best soprano in Texas? And I said, I love that. That's incredible. And so I tell my singers that too. I'll say, like, you think you're the best soprano in ASU? And there's maybe two of them. And, they'll say, oh, no. I'll say, well, how are you going to be the best soprano in Oklahoma? How are you going to be the best soprano in the region? And I mean, like, you got to, like, see yourself as, like, that girl. There's also a great story about the soprano named Carol Van Ness, who is a teacher at Indiana, which is like a great school for singing or music, great music school. And one of her students asked her, they're like, Miss Van Ness, well, who's your favorite soprano? And she goes, me. And that is fierce. That is so good. That's how we should all feel, I think. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like, who's your favorite tuba player? You.
Yep, Harvard Phillips, Pat Sheridan, Sample 18. Can tell you that right now. Well, and like, so this is the discussion that I have with I've started it real direct with my sixth graders this year, is that I tell them, I go, should I ever have higher standards should I ever have higher standards than you should have for yourself?
Hmm.
And the kids often say, like, yes. I'm like, no, I should never have higher standards for you than what you have for yourself.
Right.
I go, and then the moment you have higher standards than I have for you, I'm going to up the ante again.
Right.
And I'm going to raise my standards. And then you're going to say, and you're going to raise your standards. So therefore, we're feeding the beast.
Yeah.
And so therefore, like, you're making me a better educator by doing that. And you're making yourself a better person, a better musician by doing that. And like, that's a little mind blowing for people.
I think that takes so much buy-in from the student.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because something I've like run into is like, sometimes I see the potential that a student has, right? I'm like, this voice is really going to do something. And so I program repertoire and teach them, almost teach their potential rather than where they were. And that doesn't build a lot of like immediate success, and it leads to a lot of frustration, I think, for both parts. But if the student is really like into, I'm going to get better and I'm going to rise to the occasion and take it home, then it can really do something. But if it takes buy-in on both parts, I think.
Yeah. And which is like, honestly, like one of the hardest things to get your kids to do is to buy in.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Big time.
And that's the discussion. It's just like, how do we get the kids over the hump into that category of like intrinsic excellence?
Well, I think this past year, especially last fall, this past fall, I was dealing with a lot of like, I felt like I was begging the students to do something. I was begging them to learn their music, begging them to practice. And I felt so like, what do I do? You know what I mean? And so, I would tell them, I was like, because I teach in college, right? And so I can have a little bit more of a pointed, like, adult to adult conversation with them, and I would have them in lessons and be like, if you don't want to learn your music, that's fine. But you should major in math or something. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that. You don't want to do this, don't do it. Like, but if you do, we need you to want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, this is like learning, you're majoring in voice. So like learning a song should be the thing you want to do the most.
Yeah.
Or else why do it?
Yeah. Well, this is a whole entire conversation point that we had with the director is, actually Evan Van Doren, and he kind of reminded us like, why did you come to band every day?
Yes.
Like, why did you come to that? And if like that's what you need to focus in on, then like focus in on that and make sure you live through that. And once that happens, a lot of other things will start falling in place.
Yeah.
Like I had a conversation with a student recently about band, and I just told them, I was like, you make this what you want to make it. I go, if you want to make it great, fantastic. If you don't want to make it great, then that's up to you.
Yeah.
I go, I can't do more than that for you. And so those are always like really interesting conversations to have. It's like, well, do the thing or don't do the thing, but get out of the way of the people who want to.
Right. No, I feel the same way. It's like I can correct their French diction, and tell them blue in the face. But then when the recital comes, they got to stand up there and do it right. You know what I mean?
So you are now a professor of voice and opera.
Big time.
Okay. But you you also have a deep connection to the marching arts, specifically with color guard. So you've already touched on it a little bit as far as like you helped out your hometown for a couple years.
Yes.
With color guard. What now?
So now I am, the past 2 seasons have been the color guard instructor for the Riverhawk Marching Band at NSU in Tahlequah, which has been very fun. And it came about because we had a sort of school of music opening picnic. And I went up to the band director. It was like second thing probably I'd done at NSU when I first got the job. And I went up to the band director and I was like, who is the color guard instructor? And next year it will be me. And he was like, okay, sure. And so the color guard instructor at the time was the color guard instructor at Tahlequah High School, which makes sense. Because they have a large band program, triple the size of ours, probably. Triple the budget, too. You know what I mean? They do show us up a little bit, but that's okay. So I had gone to band practice because I am teaching theory. And so I have all the freshman music majors in my class, right? So I knew them. And so I, was interested in band and have always been. And so I went to band practice to watch band practice. And the instructor was not there. So they have, Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon band practices. And I think I went Monday, must have. And she was not there. And it was the Monday before the first football game. And they were doing 3 tunes. They were doing a Queen show.
Oh, beautiful.
And they had 3 tunes, and what she would do is the instructor would send them videos of her doing the routine, and the girls would learn it from there, which is perhaps not the best method of pedagogy, but, whatever. So I went on the Monday before the first show, and they only had the first routine and did not have the second 2. And so we were mid-rehearsal, 3 rehearsals before the show, and they only had 1. And so I went to the band director and I was like, where is she? She's not here. And he was like, I don't know. She's just not here. And I said, well, the gals don't have their, because I went introduce myself to the color guard and was like, what's going down? Love flags, essentially.
Love your work.
Yeah. Big fan. What y'all are doing, I'm here. Big fan of that. Would love to be involved. So I'm like, what are y'all going to do? And they're like, I don't know. Well, hopefully we'll get the videos tonight.
Drop spin.
Right.
Something.
And so the next day, the band director came to our office and was like, I fired her. So we need you to start now. We need you to come on board if you're interested in that. And I said, okay, yeah. And so then I go to band practice on Wednesday and I was like, okay, divas, here we go. So she had sent them the second routine overnight. And so they had that. So they had the 2 routines. And then the third piece on the show was the Queen song, Bicycle. And so I said, okay, we're not going to learn the routine. We're not going to learn the third one. Which one of y'all got a bicycle? And one of the gals brought a bicycle and she did laps around the marching band for that third song.
Iconic.
And I thought that was really fun. And they were embarrassed, and I thought it was fun. I thought it was kind of fun and cool.
I mean, when you put yourself out there like that, I mean, you got to go whole hog.
Well, because I also didn't know anything about them. I didn't know how they learned or how fast they picked up choreography.
Yeah.
How good they were. And so it all turned out that they were pretty good because they were also the best on their color guard squads in high school and went to college and just sort of picked it up as fun. Because it's not like the Golden Girls at Baylor where they get scholarship. It was just an extracurricular activity for them. And so the next week, we had a big long sectional and we did a bunch of fundamental stuff. And they were all really good individually, but had no concept of We do have to toss it the same height. It has to, if you spin it 3 times, she's got to spin it 3 times. If you do a double, she got to do a double. You know what I mean? So that was like, had never been discussed with them, which was to me like day one type stuff, keeping tempo. So I got a pair of drumsticks from the band director and we did fundamentals, and the captain was really good. And so she would choreograph some things and then I would choreograph some things. And so that's how we would do it. And we took it back to the basics, you know what I mean? And did that season. And then, because the season, they had all been picked and programmed already. And so we like fumbled our way through it. And then this past season, I had a much more like almost assistant band director role in like picking the shows and like dividing up who's going to choreograph what, and like having more time to like plan the routines and teach the routines. And so it was much more successful, I think, the second year that I was there.
How would you say the girls reacted to this year in comparison to last year?
Well, I think I kind of pissed them off a little bit at first, because when they would choreograph my first year, they would choreograph to their own specific skill set, which was like always really good, but that didn't translate to cleanness across the line, right? So I would be like, it doesn't matter if you can do all this crazy stuff by yourself. You have to do it all at the same time. And like, that really made them upset, because they were like, well, we're really good. I would be like, oh, yeah, you are really good. You just can't do it at the same time, which means that like everyone in the stands, even if their eyes are not focused, can see that it's not in time. And like, that's what's impressive, I think, about color guards, when they do it all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So we like got there. And so at the end of this year, like just a few weeks ago, so NSU has this thing where like, when you're a freshman, you do this thing called the coin walk, and you get a coin that then you're supposed to keep with you for your 4 years. And then at the end of your senior year, you're supposed to give it to a professor that's had like the biggest impact on you. And so one of the color guard girls graduated in December, and she like gave me her coin, because it was like, I had an impact on her. And it's like this thing that like, it like makes me emotional, like, thinking about it, because it's like, that's the type of thing you want when you become a teacher, is to like make an impact on people. And so that they have this like physical thing that they give you, and they have to, then, then when they give it to you, they're like, I want to give this to you because you like had this great impact on me. And it's like such a great moment.
That's a cool tradition.
Yeah. So like, she gave me one in December, and then in May, another one of them gave me her coin, and she wrote me this note, and in it, she was like, you really made me appreciate like looking at details. And like, I just thought color guard was about like doing really complicated moves, and you like made me slow down and think about like how I fit in, and like how I can contribute to like a thing bigger than me. And like, that was just like really great, And so it's like, me making them do drop spins made her think about like how she fits in with people, and how she like contributes to a group. And so I thought that was like going above and beyond like Pretty Silks,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like, again, the concept of ensemble. And I think that gets lost sometimes, because we are so, I mean, nobody's going to look out for you like you.
Hello.
No one's going to look out for
We're
me.
all the main character in
Yeah,
our own story.
exactly. We're not the main character in other people's story, but that's just the way it goes. But finding how you fit into the puzzle is something that could be really difficult for people. And I think that's the wonderful thing about, like, let's say choir or band or orchestra or any type of music, thing. Like, it's all encompassing. Like, you could be the 6'5", you know, athlete, and you can still pick up an instrument. You can still sing. You can still do all those things like that. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at the Kelsey brother.
Yeah.
Playing Barry sax.
Yeah.
He's doing that kind of thing. It's just like the time and effort and the energies that you put into it, and like the things you want to take out of it. That's something that is really, really like hard to really focus in on. I think that's something that's super, super important. So who would you say has been like your greatest mentor?
I think when I was in high school, I mean, I would say Trib certainly had a big, Kim Trimble. definitely had a big impact on me. Not in so much of a like, here's what you need to do to apply to college. Here's what you need to do to prepare for an audition to college, but in sort of encouraging me to be a musician. And you have mentioned on another episode of the pod, Becky Hurst, and she was your elementary music teacher.
Yep.
She was not my music teacher, but she, I think, left Axel to go to Mart.
She did, yeah.
And she was a music teacher in Mart, and she had her music room was the room next to my like high school best friend's mother's classroom. And so we would go and like hang out in there. And so I would talk to Becky about like wanting to be a musician. And she was like also like very encouraging to me. And she gave me her baton that she used in college.
Yeah.
She was like, "You're gonna be a music major. Here's my baton." I was like, "That is so fun." And so I still have it somewhere. But a fun story about her is she had in her classroom like a banner above the chalkboard of like, great composers, so like Mozart and Beethoven, whoever. And at the time, so this is what, like 2005? I was deep in the throes of Fantasia 2000.
Yes.
You know the movie.
Yeah.
And so I was particularly interested in the Shostakovich Second Piano Concerto,
That's fun.
Steadfast Tin Soldier in Fantasia 2000. And so picture me, 15, I don't know a thing. And I'm in her office, hands behind my back, looking at that thing above the thing. And I say, "I want to see Shostakovich up here. Where's Mr. Shostakovich? Where's Dmitri? Get him up here." And she was like, "Well, I mean, we got Mozart, we got Beethoven, we got Tchaikovsky. Those are the A sides. Shostakovich kind of a B side in the grand scheme of composers, but like still important." She was like, "Maybe he ain't like top tier, but he's pretty good." I thought it was really fun. I think about that sometimes.
The B side.
Shostakovich is a B side.
All the French horn players in the world kind of went.
I guess when you're talking about like, Bach and Mozart and Beethoven, would you put Shostakovich in the same realm?
I mean,
be truthful, be serious.
I mean, you're right.
He has a degree in music history and literature.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's Justin Kroll, DMA.
So, other than those are the two main.
And Lisa Uhl at MCC, the voice professor at MCC, who is still like one of my biggest champions to this day. She was like on the list of people I called after I passed my doctoral defense. To be like, I did it. Because she's always like so encouraging of me. And she gave me my first job after college. Well, my first job, I taught adjunct at MCC. I taught adjunct voice lessons, but that was the first time I taught voice lessons. And so she was like, "Come out to MCC and teach voice lessons." And like, even though you take methods classes, you learn how to teach by teaching. And so like, I'd never done it before. So she gave me the opportunity to like learn how to be a teacher.
Didn't she also give you your like first opera role?
Yes, girl. In that first voice lesson, she was desperate. Desperate. In that first voice lesson, she was like, "Yeah, you're good. We're doing Orpheus in the Underworld, and we're looking for Orpheus. Would you like to be Orpheus?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely. I would like to do that." Because I can be bought and tempted with the title role. Absolutely.
She just said, "Look at this nerd."
Because I think
he'll come to rehearsal.
Oh yeah, she was like, this guy, this tenor, he's a tenor through and through. He knows. He can be convinced. Because what has never left me is this idea of like, I can see somebody posting that they're singing at the Metropolitan Opera, and the first thought that I think is, "Oh no, I wasn't me. That should have been me. Why wasn't that me?" It could be Jonas Kaufman singing at the like, somewhere big. I don't know. And I could be like, "Funny they didn't call me up. Interesting." And it's totally delusional. But it started in that moment where she was like, "You want to sing Orpheus?" Me saying, "Hell yeah."
I played in the pit for that. That was like my first probably paying percussion gig. I played the percussion book for that opera for Justin.
Well, I played the pit too. In my 2 years at MCC, I was in the pit. And so I gave the MCC opera percussion pit reins
to
this diva right here.
But he was on stage.
But I was
vibrated to a visual point.
What was it? I went to one of your opera performances.
It wasn't. We weren't dating for Orpheus, so it was. Did you go to one at Baylor? Because I also played when he sang at Baylor.
Yeah, well, I think it's whenever it was like a disco theme.
That was Elixir of Love.
No, yeah, that surely was. Yes, okay.
I played for that one too.
I remember the shirt you were wearing.
I have a picture of
and I dropped it low.
Yeah, it was a silver, sparkly.
I have a picture of us together because I think I was wearing like concert black because I played timpani in the pit and Justin was on stage again.
Yeah, I can imagine the move too.
That is so fun. I've done opera several times since then, and the story I love to tell is at Baylor. You know, the story of Elixir of Love is that like the elixir he sold is actually wine, and so his confidence is because he's drunk.
Yeah.
And so he drinks all this wine. Well, at Baylor, it couldn't be wine, so it was Dr. Pepper. And he got turned on Dr. Pepper.
I remember that. I remember that.
He got turned on Dr. Pepper.
Well, and then we did Fledermaus the next year in the champagne course. We got in trouble because we sang about champagne.
You got in trouble for that?
Does your band budget feel like it's stuck on repeat? Same old fundraiser, same week results? It's time to change the rhythm. FanPledge with Shawn Murphy brings the beat back with fun, fast, and effective fundraising. No product sales, no deliveries, and if you don't raise at least 10% more than your current donation-based fundraiser, it's free. Call Shawn at 903-948-7348. FanPledge, the choice of champions.
Well, I don't think we got in trouble. I think like the dean was like,
somebody said,
perhaps pray about that.
Yeah.
Next time. Put that to prayer and see if you need to do anything.
If you can't do it in front of your pastor.
Cut all that drinking out.
I grew up Catholic, so we drank beer.
Well, you drank the blood of Christ.
Yeah.
And then we drank what was left at the end of church. Who's kind of helped you like lead the way into like the actual education part of things now that like you're a professor? Who did you lean on a whole bunch through that process?
I think I still called Lisa a lot to be like, I have this student, what do I do? You know, or this student I have has this particular problem. But I also like talked to my teacher that I had in doctor school at Wisconsin a lot. And he like, I would consider, you know, Lisa a mentor and like other people, you know, mentors in my life. But when I got to Wisconsin, my teacher at like the very first lesson, like sat me down and he was like, okay, as you go forward in your career, you need to be, let's say, judicious with the opinions that you take in about yourself. So he was like, you need to set aside 5 people that you ask and that you listen to, and everyone else doesn't matter. And he was like, I'd love to be one of those people for you. And I was like, I think that's really great because that's like really good advice because it's so easy to like let every bit of critique that you get from just anybody you internalize. And so for him to ask that to me makes me really think about any feedback I get ever. And is it from him? Is it from Lisa? Is it from, you know, maybe 1 or 2 other professors I had at MCC?
Well, and I think that's something like Alexa and I have talked about a whole lot is like allowing other people to dictate the way you feel, even when they're not in your circle.
Yeah.
Especially about yourself.
Big time.
Because like I know I've dealt with this. I think it might be more of a band director issue than a choir director issue, like imposter syndrome.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it happens with instrumentalists, but
yeah.
with singers, it's nuts because like any feedback you get is personal because your voice is a part of your body. Your voice is a part of your identity.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like I'm having an off day. I sound bad. I'm going to take my throat to the shop, you know, and like get it oiled or get it fixed or something. You know, this ain't working. It's not like you can drop it off like a trumpet to get fixed. You know, it's like you have to like do this thing with something you can't see. You can't really feel. You can't manipulate yourself. You have to just do it with, I don't know, go on vibes or something, essentially. And so like anytime, you know, as a singer in a lesson, I have to be really careful about being like, I can't say like, that was ugly. Because like, it's them, you know? And like, if you think about like, you play a trumpet and you say like, that was kind of an ugly sound, maybe. That you're holding the trumpet wrong. You're like using not enough breath. Your embouchure's wrong or something. But like for me to go like, that was ugly. It's like, my voice is ugly. It's me. I can't change that. So like that's hard. And plus singers are sensitive. Much more sensitive than instrumentalists.
Yeah.
Lots of tears.
I've never actually thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, you can do all of the technique and all of the things that you're supposed to do, but there's at the end of the day, it's your body, it's your voice.
you can always do long tones to help your tone. There's only so much you can do to help your, like, really, really, really help your voice.
Yeah. And the other thing that I mean, this happens to instrumentalists too in a way, and like you get chopped out and that kind of thing. But like singers are like notoriously like this sick. Like they can't sing. Like
Well, most of that is drama.
yes, and that is they're sensitive.
Oh
So
my God, I got notes.
yeah, well,
Okay, well that's a serious
I know.
but that is a thing.
Well,
Is they
that's,
all have
that's
their
not an issue for like instrumentalists,
No.
but like that's a whole
But
entire.
like if you're like under the weather, you can't sing,
Yeah, I can still
or you can't sing well.
Well, it's like every time I book an engagement from like January to March,
Yeah.
I'm nervous because I don't know what is going to be up in my nose and throat.
Yeah.
From the pollen.
And everyone has their own remedy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows?
But everybody has their own remedy. They're walking around with their tea and telling you what they do. And
Well, I mean, I understand that to a small degree because I do like announcing for Baylor Athletics, and I'm always like hoping I'm like I better not start losing my voice because of like, oh, there's a weather change.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a certain amount of like at some point you have to rely on your technique and sing over
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like because as long as there's no inflammation on the cordies, you're good. You just gotta like rely on your technique and get on with it.
hmm
You know what I mean? And a lot of people are like, I can't. It's uncomfortable. It's like it's not like it usually is, and because there's snot in my sinuses, I'm not receiving the same like physical sensation of resonance that I normally do. And so I think something's wrong. And so rather than relying on your technique, you're relying on your auditory processing of your own singing, which is already warped because most of it is sympathetic vibrations of your bones than actual hearing of yourself.
hmm
So like singers just get spooked.
yeah.
They get spooked. And like I said, they're trauma. So like if everything, I mean, I can say that. I am one. Okay.
He's an authority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can't say that. We can't say that.
But I know you think it.
Yeah, what?
Because y'all all do.
Is there a mistake you've made that's made you a better like educator?
I think it's like what I said earlier about like teaching to potential rather than where they are at the moment. I think I have like, let's say, overprogrammed my singers or like had a soprano that is like 2 years from now going to be like really good at coloratura. And so like maybe she doesn't need the hard coloratura aria right now. Maybe she needs it in 2 years,
Mhm.
And so like I think sort of overprogramming or programming too soon repertoire that maybe they'll do later was like a steep learning curve. Um and also I think maybe not a mistake, but like a long lesson learned is just like how long the development of technique takes
Yeah.
in a musician. And so to not be so frustrated after a semester of like, why aren't they breathing right? Right? Why aren't they like, why isn't their range expanded or something?
Yeah.
To just like trust that they're growing and to hold like progress as the marker rather than, benchmarks or something.
Yeah, get that star testing out of here. So, have you seen a big difference, or what are some of the differences that you're seeing between like maybe the Texas feel versus the Oklahoma feel?
It was crazy. It's like I think I think in Texas that like the arts are important and are like there's a lot of great things happening in with music in Texas. But then you leave and you're like, they're really doing it up big down in Texas. And we tell them that in school. Because I tell them, I'm like, look, some of these people that are freshmen in high school in Texas could play circles around your butt because they are just like committed down there. You know what I mean? it's like in the water or something. But even in Wisconsin, like, you know, I lived in Madison, which is where the Wisconsin Music Educators Conference was.
Mhm.
And it's like, of course, Texas is like famous for its huge conference and like everyone goes. But like, I bet 30 people went to the one in Wisconsin. I mean, it was teeny tiny. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Oklahoma, okay, MEA. I haven't been myself, but can't imagine it's anything like Texas. I've tried to get myself a ticket to go recruit in at TMEA, and they say, "Who's going to come?" And I say, "I don't know. Let me go try." And they say, "No."
Well, that's like the same thing with Stephanie DeLuca. She's at University of Utah.
Mhm.
She's from Corsicana,
Yeah.
and she
I
taught
forgot she's from Corsicana.
Yeah.
Dang.
yeah, and she taught at Clifton, and now she got her doctorate from Florida State, and now she's one of the athletic band directors for the University of Utah.
That is so turned.
And she actually comes to TMEA to do recruitment.
I wish that were me.
She's come like the past, I think.
But she's teaching at a flagship university, and
Yeah.
and like a regional college in Oklahoma. So I'm sure there's a contingency from OU and from OSU at TMEA, but not from NSU, and that's okay.
Yeah, OU definitely. I've seen both of them, OU
Yeah.
and OSU.
Like I think about like the opportunity I was given because the the catalyst for me going to Baylor University was the fact that my tuba professor was my state solo ensemble judge.
Nice.
Mhm.
And I made an impression on him, and he actually called my high school to try and get me to come to the Baylor band camp.
Mm,
And so if that opportunity would have never presented itself,
sure.
I would have never gone to Baylor. I would have
Mhm.
gone somewhere else. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have like progressed as far as I would have, or like looked into bigger universities
Sure.
for myself if it wasn't for David Graves.
We talked about this earlier, and but not for the same reason. How a lot of people don't go to state solo and ensemble anymore, and a lot of people do in-house concerts. Whatever, do what you will. I don't care what you're doing. However, it does remove opportunities like that
Mhm.
Yeah.
because there are like, especially like places where we went to school. Like, where else would you have crossed paths with that man?
Uh,
Maybe all state band.
but even at that,
That's not the same thing. You didn't play for him, and he wasn't able to give you comments and, like, make an impression on you and vice versa. So, I was just thinking about that because we had that conversation earlier, but I think it's an important avenue to give your students because w w there's a lot of discourse about, consistency in judging and that kinda thing, and honestly, like, quality of judges too, but whether it's positive or negative, it's still an experience for your students,
mhm.
you know? I don't know. That's off topic, but that
I
came
don't
to
think so.
mind while we were talking about that.
No, I mean, could you imagine like
I played for Michael Varner in high school, and I, like, was not a very good percussionist in high school, but when else would I have done that? And you know what? Later on, I auditioned at UTA, and I almost went there, and part of it was because, I not that wasn't the reason I auditioned at UTA, but when I applied, I was like, "Oh, I've played for him before. He judged me at State Solo Ensemble."
mhm.
So, I played for Brian Zader too, and I remember that very clearly.
But I think like that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, we Crooms from
Yeah,
UT, he's judging a lot of our percussion kids at state
and that's
ensemble.
awesome.
And that's great. And I like one of our kids, he's like as a freshman, he was on varsity football.
Mhm.
He's a heck of a drum set player. Like he's really good.
He's very talented at whatever he
Yeah.
wants to do.
And so like I hit Crooms is gonna be his judge. And I'm like, hey, this is your opportunity to impress. And like maybe that's an avenue that opens up an opportunity. And I said the same thing with like the other instrumentalists. Like, hey, you're having this person listen to you. Like, this is a great opportunity for you to like have scholarship opportunities.
Big time.
Because that is one of the first like areas that you're actually getting face-to-face contact with somebody who might be associated with the university. Because like you go to the all-state band, you do that kind of stuff, you're in an all-state band.
Well, and I never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, I was never gonna make the all-state band. I just wasn't. And I don't remember how was it tracked, I guess?
Not that I think it started
Yeah.
splitting. Like,
Yeah. I don't think it was tracked. I was never gonna beat any of those 3A kids. Like, I went to a 1A school. There was 0 chance. I didn't have any sort of daily percussion instruction. We talked about this earlier. We didn't even own the right size timpani for me to be able to practice the etudes on. So I would have to like go to other schools or borrow drums or so on and so forth. Like, we did not own a set of timpani. It's like I was never gonna make it. And so I was never gonna have those experiences. But what I could do was rely on myself to learn a solo and go play a state solo ensemble. And that was a very formative experience for me.
Yeah.
So
Well, and then when I got to Baylor, like I can say I appreciated David Graves because he didn't shy away from like leaning on small school people.
Love.
yeah.
And that was like really, really cool because there were people in our studio that were from like 5A, 6A, but also from 4A and below. A good player is good player, no matter where you're from. But a lot of people put stock into like, oh, they were a
Well,
5A, 6A all-stater.
one of the best players in your studio went to a 3A school
Mhm.
back in the day. And one of
Hey,
oh, but
let's talk about it.
that's what I was about to say too. Is like I went to high school with someone
Thank you.
at my 1A school,
Big time.
and Zach Bridges, and
Yeah.
he plays now for the Army band.
Thank you.
And he got first chair in 5A our senior year. And he was also recruited by David Graves, or he took lessons from him all through high school, so it was kind of like a logical thing. But if somebody would have put him in a box based on the classification of school size that he went to, that would be crazy. He's like one of the best tuba players in the nation. You know, he's playing a professional gig in a band. And it's like I walked across the stage at graduation with him. Like, you just can't. And I've heard people say that before. Oh, they went to a small school. Eh, probably some gaps there.
Well,
It's like,
I'll tell you,
what?
that's a big problem at Baylor when it comes to the singers.
Yes.
It's like every one of the singers at Baylor is from the suburbs of Houston or Dallas.
Yeah.
Basically. And so, like, I was there, grown up in Marlin, not been singing my whole life. Certainly wasn't in the Texas All-State Choir. But everyone else was. And like that doesn't make for, well, it doesn't, and on the ground level, doesn't make for a very welcoming.
They also all know each other because
Right. And they also, yes, they have all these like pre-formed relationships.
Well, and like I tell you, I got into arguments and like some drag out fights with some people who were from large schools whose mentality for like concert programming was very, 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 very like set to like, oh, we need to play the hardest lit for our spring concert. And and I'm like, the spring concert, yeah, there's some moments that you need to push the ensemble, and I get that and I respect that. But like you're also playing for the parents. Like it's okay for you to program a pop tune because at its root, what was the whole entire purpose of music?
Entertainment.
There you go.
Mhm.
Like that's what it was there for. I mean, that's why people go to concerts. That's why people go to watch Sabrina Carpenter. Well, maybe for other reasons, but that's why they go to see all those different types of things. What was that like, Justin?
That's that me espresso.
But like that was a big like I got into a drag out argument.
They go back to catch the sentence slammer.
And so
Sitting slammer.
but that was like a big conversation. Well, then like it's like the same thing with that conversation we were having earlier. Like, okay, this person missed a couple of pitches versus this person was more expressive through the performance. And like Alexa and I have talked about this because like bands go to like competitions like honor band recordings and all this kind of other stuff and OPS, which is a small school thing. And like there's always a huge divide and strong opinions about like, oh, that piece was simpler.
This drives me nuts.
Yeah, was more simple than another band's performance, but they played it way better and it was much cleaner and you could tell the intent behind everything. But this other group played a harder piece and it was like
Sloppy.
It was sloppy. which one is actually going to get rewarded for their efforts.
And what I've come to understand is that most people value the difficulty. Just based on my own, and everyone can think I'm completely wrong, but I've sat in on some of those listenings or listening to some of the stuff, and a lot of people value difficulty. And they are more willing to be lenient if you play something harder and it's a little bit sloppier than if you play something that's a little bit easier and super clean.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really, really hot topic.
Well, because in a lot of this stuff, like there's a UIL rubric. There's still, rightfully so, like some subjectivity in that. There's a rubric, but not everything is like concrete. There's not, you're not putting points on a board. One person's not clearly having more points than another, which is why you have 3 judges.
Mhm.
It's why you have 5 judges for all state stuff. But there's so much of the stuff that is unwritten. I don't know. People value different things, and I think a lot of that has to do with how, like, I played in a premier wind ensemble for a few years, you know, and I know what that's supposed to sound like, and I know what it's like to play that difficulty of music, and I also know what it is for like a low young band to play a piece of music that's appropriate for them and for that to sound correct as well. And there's just so much in between. And there's so much subjectivity. And honestly, some people sometimes just program things that are not appropriate for their ensemble to play. And I think sometimes, depending on what you're doing, I think that's okay. Like if you're trying to teach them something or if you just want them to experience it, I think that's okay. Whether or not you reward them off of that, though, is something. And what is it? Is it for the reward or is it for the experience? We've had that discussion a lot here lately. What is it for? Is it for the performance or is it before a trophy? You know, is it for clout, as John Shriver would say?
Yeah.
Character building.
Yeah, it's a very hot topic because it is so subjective, and it's just like anything else. You have extremists on either direction. Me personally, I would rather feel something in a performance and have a couple things that are just like not as clean. And I get that, but like I don't feel like rewarding difficulty for the sake of rewarding difficulty.
Sure.
I mean, it's just like for you, if you had a singer and has, once again, you said potential, and you give her, aria from the Queen of the Night, is that going to be more impressive for her to go for that or go for something that's more appropriate and they do it well?
Yeah. I mean, singers, I think, are pretty much like almost exclusively interested in interpretation
Yeah.
and musicality. Because I mean, whenever I adjudicate like at Nats, and it's like I'm talking about like phrasing or musicality before I'm talking about like these pitches are wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think all the other judges are doing that too. But singers, I think, have in general hotter takes than instrumentalists.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty level headed, let's say.
Some of us.
Depending.
But I mean, I think like a lot of times, and I'm sure band directors do this too, but like a lot of times, singers are like, well, I don't like that setting of Lovely of Trees, so I'm going to give you a low score. I don't prefer the John Duke. I like the Butterworth. And you come up in here and sing John Duke.
I like the Schissel. Yeah.
Well, it's just like a big conversation point last year was like melodious thunk. Some people
don't like that.
Some people love that piece, and some people absolutely hate
It's
that
like
piece.
offensive to them.
Yes.
I'm sure there's other stuff like that too.
But like, is it done well?
Well, it's just I don't know why this is what happens, but anytime we have a conversation like this, the piece that pops into my brain is "And the Mountains Rising Nowhere," and how some people just really don't understand that type of music and that piece of music, and they're like, "Well, I don't like that," and it's like, "Yeah, because you don't understand it."
Well, it's the same thing with like John Cage.
I like John Cage.
Like I get his intent behind the things. I don't necessarily like go like, hey, you know what I want to listen to?
It's their
It's
construction.
their construction.
But that's the thing is like music is for entertainment, but does that mean it needs to be enjoyable?
Yes.
I mean, for it depends.
For the performer or for the listener?
You know, I also teach music appreciation
Well,
Yeah.
at SU, and I do ask that question a lot. Like, what is the point?
Yeah.
And if I can get past like the general feeling of like I wish I was dead that the students have, and it's not even early. It's at 11 o'clock.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's a very normal time to have class. They don't have to get up early, but you know they're all looking at me like, "Shut up! Don't talk to me about Bach anymore, please." You know, we get to like once we start talking about like Rite of Spring, we talk about Rite of Spring. We talk about John Cage. We talk about Schoenberg, and I play them Perot right? And they're like, "What is going on? What are they doing? Why is she doing like this?"
yes, Trinity.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, what's the point of this? Is it to like make you feel something? And I said, arguably, you're outraged right now. It's made you feel something. So like, there you have it.
Does advertising work?
Mission accomplished. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. It's a bit like that.
Well, it's just like when Stravinsky did the national anthem.
Yeah, and he
And
threw
he-
that.
One chord in, and it like it started a riot. It's like, why did he do that? What was the intent behind that? I mean, the musical value. I mean, it's just like Ives.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm.
those are just like some very interesting like takes and views. You have to like maybe put yourself on the other side.
Well, I play them when we talk about Ives, and I play them like country band march.
Yeah.
And I don't tell them it's supposed to be like kind of wacky. And so I'll, play it and we'll listen to about half of it. And I'll be like, what do you think about that? Are they good? Is that a good band or no? And I'll be like, it doesn't sound like it. And then I'll be like, what if I told you that it's supposed to sound like that? What if that was the point? For it to recreate like a amateur band? They're like, why would you write that? Great question. You tell me. Why do you think? What does it make you feel like? Does it make you like think about things you've heard before in your real life? Do you think this is realistic? This is a realistic portrayal of music in America? Or is it like just for fun? Who cares? Whatever. And they don't really care. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like, oh, yes, Dr. Kroll. No, that's a great question. I'm going to think about the rest of the day. They're like, let me out of here. But it's like, I don't know. Those are interesting questions about the collection of music.
Yeah, you should play the halftime show from this past year and ask them the same question.
The Gatesville High School?
No, the Super Bowl with Kendrick Lamar.
Oh.
I'm sure they would love that.
And go like, what was the intent behind this? And you know what? They're going to be able to say what it was about. And then it's the same thing with like, Shasti.
The B-side composer?
Yes.
Can I tell you a really fun story about this person in my music appreciation class this year? So one of their assignments, they have to go to 2 concerts and write a concert report on them, which is not hard.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
standard.
not a lot.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
Not a lot of, it has to be like a page, if that. And so then at the end of the semester, they all give a presentation over one of the concerts they did their concert report on, which is to include, the brief is, you must send me by a certain date, the concert that you will do your presentation on. You have to include a musical example from the concert in your presentation, and you have to send me your presentation before you get to class that day. That is the brief. That's it. There's no like minimum slide requirement. There's no nothing. So I think that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It turns out quite difficult. So this person comes to class and gives his presentation over a junior flute recital. And he has 2 slides, a pros slide and a cons slide. And the pros, he gets up there. He doesn't stand and give his presentation. He sits at the desk. And he gets up there and he opens the pros slide and says, pros were, she was very clear and I could understand every word that she sang. The flute recital. So I'm listening to the presentation. I'm like, what do I do in this moment? Do I stop him and say, okay, Diva, so you didn't go to this recital, huh? Or do I just let it play out? So I let it play out. And so then he gets to the cons and he goes, yeah, I mean, like, I listen to a lot of music, I've like actually like a really good ear for music. But this concert I didn't like because I really couldn't catch a vibe. And then said, thank you so much. I sat down. He was up at the computer for about 45 seconds, said, I can understand every word the flutist sang. And then I couldn't catch a vibe and then sat down. And I just said, thank you. Who's next? You know what I mean? I was like, work. Incredible. So it's like, I thought that was really fun.
Oh man, we sure did go down a rabbit hole, didn't we?
What? Did he get a grade?
Yeah, well, because he had sent me the presentation before, so he like got some points. He had like turned in his topic. He sent me the thing. He didn't have a musical example because he didn't go,
Yeah.
so he didn't know what to put on there. You know, it's like you go to the band concert, you put country march on,
Yeah.
and we listened to 20 seconds of it. You know, and so he didn't go, and so he had nothing to put on there, so he didn't get points for that. I don't know what he made. I think he passed the class. I think there was like 1 or 2 people that failed, which it's hard to fail.
Yeah, you have to put effort to
Yeah.
these
And so he
positions.
wasn't, I don't think, one of the ones that failed, but
So what's some advice you would give to young educators?
it's a great question. I don't know. I mostly like remember when you were little and needed encouragement, you know, and try to be that. And I think a lot of times, sometimes people on faculties are interested in dunking on the students in a way to prove that they're in charge. And that is not helpful, I don't think, for anyone, not for you and not for the students. And so, like, sometimes it's easy to become frustrated with, like, when the students don't perform to the best of their abilities that you know that they can do,
Mm-hmm.
but to be graceful with them and rather than be like, why aren't you singing like you sang in your lessons? You know, I know you can do better than this. You know, to help them, like, to be graceful and be like, what can you do to do to give a better performance? You know, to like be an advocate for them rather than like someone whose job it is to catch them out.
Well, I talked to someone, no, we just recorded with Zach Santos. Like one of the things that we kind of went through was explaining like the going down down the rows where we have individual players and getting past the idea of like, oh, listen, I got you versus like changing the mentality of kids wanting to perform
Mhm.
and like shifting that mindset. And that's like really, really, really hard to do. And that's our job as educators to find a way to do that tactfully
Yeah.
because you can tell, like, hey, like, why didn't you do that? Like, versus like, hey, is there something else going on? Like, is everything okay? Um,
I do that in opera. I have like memory tests in opera when we get to a certain point in the semester that they have to have their role memorized, right?
Yeah.
And so we'll have like a day when I say you can't use your music. You're going to do it from memory. And, you know, it never has gone perfectly. And I always am never trying to be like, so interesting you don't know your music.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I try to be like, so this feeling that you're feeling right now of like embarrassment or like,
anxiety.
yeah, this feeling of anxiety, how do you think you could remedy that going forward? And I'll tell you, it's by learning your music. It's by memorizing it. Do you know what I mean? So like trying to help give them strategies to do that rather than be like, so that's an F for today, get out and don't come back
Uh-huh.
until you have it learned. Of course, there are times when like week after week, things aren't happening and, you have to be like, we're not going to have a lesson today because you don't know any of this,
Mhm.
and I'd only done that like twice because it makes me feel so awful, and I know it, like, I think, some people do it and they're like, oh yeah, they didn't know their music. They got to get out of here. And I feel like, I mean, the sole reason for me to have this job is to help them.
Yeah. Well, and once again, it comes back to some of that intrinsic motivational like thing that they have to have. I got really frustrated with my band at one point this year, and I was real close to losing my temper.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, guys, I guess I'm not being a very good teacher right now,
Mm.
and I apologize. What do I need to do to help you? Like, because I don't feel like I'm being successful at my job. So please tell me what you need me to do to help you in this process." And like, overwhelming response was like, "We just need to be better." I'm like, "Okay, so let's do that."
Yeah.
But
See
like,
what we can do that.
yeah, I'm like, if you don't feel like there's anything I can do to help you, then like you have to take ownership and responsibility to do this
Mm-hmm.
because like it's about you.
Yeah.
But like that's very frustrating on my end because like I'm just like, hey, what can I do to help you? What makes you feel like I am not being successful in your process?
Yeah. I think that's like the biggest advice I would give is like look inward when things are not working for your students. Look inward. What can you do differently? What can you do better? That was like a major milestone that I got in my singing because I was having a time from like maybe 2016 to 2019 where I wasn't having any success as a singer. And I was blaming it on lots of other things, the least of which being my own singing and how I was performing. And so I had this moment where I was like, if anything's going to change is I have to like be honest with myself about how I'm singing and what I need to fix rather than saying like, well, they didn't hire me because they're looking to hire, someone that looks differently than me, or they're looking to hire someone who like, you know, went to a different school than me or something, or like, well, they hire people that only went to Indiana or Cincinnati or something, and I went to Baylor. So like, of course they're not going to hire me, or I didn't go to Rice. So they're not going to hire me. And when I finally was like, no, Justin, it's because you can't sing legato. Do you know what I mean? It's because your high notes suck.
Can't get that country accent out of it.
Oh, I play that up in an audition. I will play that.
Hey, y'all.
Oh my gosh. I will find a reason to say y'all in an audition. A lot of times you submit your resume, you submit your music ahead of time, and you know that you don't need to bring a resume. And so I'll walk in knowing I don't need to give them a resume and say, y'all don't need anything from me, right? This is a laugh moment. Thank you so much.
That just seems normal. I don't know.
Y'all don't need anything from me, right? Y'all don't need a resume or anything. Okay, well, I'm going to sing Letsky from Eugene Onegin. Hit it. Yeah.
Lansky.
I'm going to sing Letsky.
Do you have a favorite memory from like band or like with choir piano?
I have lots of fun choir memories from band. Serenade from a picket fence, up for a picket fence with my cape on in McGregor is a highlight.
Top tier.
Going to the state championship game and winning was really fun.
That is cool.
That was cool. Just like lots of fun. Like, just I loved the football games. I loved like the whole ritual of like Friday nights and Friday afternoons of like going to the pep rally, having a steak finger basket in my mother's office. My mother's a school nurse.
Where did you get a steak finger basket?
Girl, at the Dairy Queen in Mart. Are you crazy? Oh. I know we were going to talk about it. The Dairy Queen in Mart is probably the best Dairy Queen on the planet.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever been to that
They
one.
haven't changed the grease
You
since
have to
1992.
go. Oh my God, it's so good.
We'll have to make a trip out there just for that.
Is it a Mayfield?
No?
Of course not.
I don't know what that means.
No.
What does that mean?
Mayfield?
It's a specific like franchise sect of Dairy Queens.
It's old times.
Well, there's one in Cameron, and then I think there's one in Cedar Park, is what Zach said.
Yeah.
But
The Dairy Queen in okay, so
they
Mart
run a
had
tight ship.
Mart had a Dairy Queen. It had the burrito place. It had the Sefco, and it had another establishment entitled the Dairy Cream.
Which is confusing.
Right. I don't think the Dairy Cream exists anymore.
Wasn't there Pizza Pro too?
Oh my God, the Pizza Pro. What am I talking about? God, the Pizza Pro's so good.
Does the Pizza Pro still exist?
I think so. I don't know. Let me tell you, I haven't been back to Mart in just a long time, and I don't know that I need to again.
We should take a trip.
I don't want to.
Say, hey, y'all.
Oh,
We're gonna be singing some land ski today.
My God, not in March.
Uh,
What's it say?
All the Mayfield Dairy Queens are in the greater Austin area.
That's what I thought.
So the furthest north one is
Cameron.
Cameron, yeah.
What's it look like? Does it look different?
No, I think they're just Dairy Queens managed by a specific.
Well, what makes it so special? They have different.
They
ice
run
cream
a
or what?
ship.
Yeah, this furthest one south is in. Generally, this is the way they look.
Oh, yeah, the one in Mar doesn't look like that, or the one in Marlin.
They a little souped up.
There's a Dairy Queen in Marlin.
Yeah, bro, right across the street from the McDonald's.
Oh, okay. By Walmart.
It's right in front of Marlin High School.
Mm. They've been having a lot of troubles with water.
That's what
over
I've
there.
been hearing.
Yeah.
That's what I've been hearing.
Drink that water.
I went and I had a dip cone yesterday from the one in Rosebud, Texas.
You went to Rose?
Well, I was in College Station. I had
Oh,
a wedding reception, and I was coming back. I went back the scenic way out, coming up 77, and I was like, let me stop up in here and get me a dip cone. And I'm going to talk about it on the pod.
Is that your general DQ order?
I mean, yes, I do. I did mention steak finger baskets. I mean, if I'm interested in a steak finger basket from Dairy Queen.
Yeah, me too.
I'm also really interested in a dip cone.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm getting a blizzard, I needed to have both Heath and Butterfinger in it.
Ooh.
Oh,
yeah. Really interested in that. Yeah, I do love a dip cone. And because it's like every time I have ice cream from Dairy Queen, it tastes like it's 1998. And my dad said, let's go riding around. And we went to get a ice cream cone from Dairy Queen, and we're riding around looking at stuff in Marlin.
In Marlin?
Yeah. It tastes just like that. It's like scent memory. You know what I mean? It like takes you back somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I had it yesterday, and I was like, I feel like I'm on Falls on the Brazos, looking at the river in my daddy's pickup truck. That is so fun.
No, there is something. I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia to that.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're not singing? What do you do to unwind?
I love being at my house.
Me too.
I do love being home.
Me too.
At the crib, posted up. I like to watch like period dramas, like a Downton Abbey, The Crown type beat. I'm really interested for the next season of The Gilded Age to come out.
I never watched The Gilded Age.
You gotta get into it. It's too good.
I never watched
really
Bridgerton either.
I'm not really interested in Bridgerton because that's a little like revisionist.
Yeah, it's like
historical drama.
Is that like
it's a little raunchy.
Well, yeah. Also,
it's like a period
where like bastards.
Yeah.
Changed some history.
Well, isn't it? It's like instead of like a Beethoven piano concerto as the score, it's like a string quartet arrangement of like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that.
I don't think I would be either. I tried to watch one episode and I was like,
yeah, it's like
not for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm either watching that or I'm watching my little YouTube subscriptions that are like travel videos. Love trains. Really interested in train travel. Watching those, or I'm watching like 1,000-Pound Sisters.
Yeah.
You have a guilty pleasure TV show?
That 1,000-Pound Sisters, or like My 600-Pound Life. God, that is event television.
Yeah.
1,000-Pound Sisters is too turn.
Who said they watched My 600-Pound Life?
Me.
No, besides you.
Oh,
somebody else.
Was it Kim? Kim?
So good. Oh my God, it's so good. I can't remember. Because they get up on the television and lie.
Yeah.
All they do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of it.
And 1,000-Pound Sisters is like, I mean, what a spectacle. There's stuff you can do. Try being my size, Amy. You don't know how it is. There's one I've like taken up a new one. There was one Amy was she was like doing a confessional and she was like overwhelmed about something and she was crying and she was like, I got a lot going on. I just got a lot going on. And so now ever since then, every time I say I got a lot going on, I say it just like that. I got so much going on. I got so much going on.
It's like the clip where she thinks she's pregnant. She's talking to the doctor.
I've been craving water.
I've been craving things I don't normally want. Like what? Water?
Water.
Girl, you ain't pregnant. You thirsty.
You can't write that. That's incredible. That is so good.
Cinema.
I love that show. God, I love that show. Y'all got to get HBO Max. You got
We do have it.
log on and watch it tonight.
Since we've gone back, it was HBO Go, HBO Max. Now we're back to HBO.
I never stopped calling it HBO.
Neither did I. It's just cycled back to when I already called it.
Mm-hmm.
What's something you wish you could bring back?
Oh, I made a list of things because I know that was on the prompt. Okay, hold on.
He's listened to the pod.
Yeah, I knew. Okay, the first thing I have on the list of my note on my phone labeled pod. Let's bring back being embarrassed and or keeping secrets.
Yeah. Yeah. I can get behind that one.
Because sometimes people log onto the internet and say stuff, and I'm like, whatever happened to
Shame.
being embarrassed? Right. Whatever happened to keeping a secret? Why didn't you just write that down?
You should be ashamed of that.
The next thing is, do y'all remember those Philadelphia cheesecake bars used to?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes. I know
Cheesecake bars.
exactly what you're
They're
talking
in
about.
the refrigerator.
They were like an early 2000s thing.
Yeah. They're about this big, and they had like
Let
a
me see if I can
cylinder
find it.
of like cherry or
Jose
strawberry
didn't
with like a
have
drizzle.
expendable income to be spending on
Okay.
Philadelphia cheesecake bars.
It was turned when my dad would go down to the HEB in Marlin and bring those home. That was incredible for me.
These.
Filled it. Look at them.
Oh,
Yeah.
I always.
You got to get those
buy
back.
those.
Oh, those are. Yeah, we need to bring those back. Okay, now Alexa's gonna agree with me on this. We need to bring back divas singing on Sesame Street.
Yes. Patti LaBelle.
Patti LaBelle,
Sing the ABCs.
Renee Fleming.
Yes.
Anybody.
Well,
Nobody does it anymore.
Nobody's.
But they're not
Divas are
funded,
singing,
so
right.
forget it.
We got a bigger problem. I spent an afternoon the other day, and I emailed my Oklahoma State representative, my Oklahoma State senator, and my Oklahoma congressman, and was like, "You need to vote to save the NEA. You need to vote to save Oklahomans for the arts. I'm an educator. I'm trying to educate the youths about being musicians."
You don't like
One of them emailed me back who was like a Second Amendment preservationist and was like, "Hello, Justin. I agree." And I was like, look at me. Okay, I got to bring back divas. What else? We need to bring back, we need to bring back Lupita's restaurant in Marlin. You never been.
Rip. I went
Nobody.
too.
Did you? Stop.
Yeah, you took me there.
Okay, yeah.
I've been Lupita's.
Rip Lupita's.
He used to work in Rosebud.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It ain't there no more.
It's not. Nothing's in Marlin anymore.
No. Including water.
Yeah.
Well, and then the last thing I have on here, and something I would love to bring back, but we can't, is the Simply Sarah YouTube channel.
Oh, rip.
Oh,
Oh my goodness. That wound is fresh.
There are days when I'm just doing stuff, and I'll stop when I'm doing and say, Sarah's dead.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either.
That day that you texted me that. So, okay, it's preserved on YouTube. Everyone out in the void, log on to YouTube right now and look up Simply Sarah Kitchen, the YouTube channel. It is a treasure trove of this woman making very everyday recipes.
There's like a wide spectrum of stuff she would make.
Oh yeah, she would do crazy wildcat stuff.
Towards the end too, some people allege that she was using like Blue Apron or HelloFresh boxes.
Well, it was now this woman was definitely a candidate for My 600-Pound Life. Lived in a trailer house in West Virginia, Fort Gay, West Virginia. What a place. And would make these recipes and was every bit a hoarder in her home.
She was known for her macaroni salad.
Her bologna combination salad. Her Buckeye balls. And she would
Buckeye balls. I didn't watch that one.
Incredible. She would get on and she would do, oh my God, the crazy stuff. So anyway, she had gone to the doctor once, and the doctor said, you don't need to eat any more meat. You need to cut out meat from your diet. And so in her head, she said, it's not that I'll eat any more vegetables. I will make every bit the same food that I normally bake and just replace the meat with meatless products. So it was soy, which didn't do much, let's say. So then she gets sick. She becomes ill. And Alexa texts me a screenshot of her Facebook because Alexa's Facebook friends with her. A screenshot of the Facebook where somebody, who knows who it is, somebody, not her husband, somebody posts, we need prayers for Sarah. She's in the hospital.
Yeah, I think it was her niece or something.
And we were like, oh hell, it's going down. And so then I remember the day that I woke up and I had a text from Alexa that was another screenshot that just said Sarah had passed. And I said, not this, God, please, not this.
We didn't need this today.
And I replied to you, and then I got up and like got dressed, and then I started calling people as if it was a family member that had died. I called Edgar and I said, Edgar, Sarah's dead. She's gone. I'm bereaved. I am bereaved over this. And he wasn't the only person I called. It was crazy. It was terrible. So I wish we could bring it back. Unfortunately, we cannot. It's like I'm waiting for like an episode to drop where people are. It's like Sarah being like, "Okay, that's it for me. Bye." Like a sign off, like a farewell video. But you know what I mean? She's gone.
She used to sell her Tupperware.
Oh my gosh, she was pushing Tupperware, paparazzi jewelry.
She would do her videos, her cooking videos, and then every once in a while she would talk about it in the video, or she would do a separate video. And then also, like, just one of the best things is she would have her cat wandering around.
Oh yeah,
that's in the Buckeye Balls episode.
Mr.
Winter. Yeah, he's like touching the Buckeye Balls, and
it was not hygienic.
No.
Anyway, it's all still up on YouTube. Y'all got to go check it out. Wish we could bring it back.
You know,
unfortunately, it's over.
Justin yells at us anytime we watch YouTube in this house.
Yeah. Because we don't have YouTube Premium.
Why did you not have YouTube Premium? Like, I don't get it.
Money on other subscriptions.
You could drop any one of those subscriptions and pick up YouTube Premium, and it would.
Watch enough YouTube for that.
I'm watching a lot.
We're not watching that much YouTube.
I've done a lot.
I mean, the children
watch more YouTube than us, and they don't even watch that much. They like to watch Danny Go.
Okay.
So, is there one performance that means more to you than others?
Oh, I always talk about like the performance that I did with the Baylor Acapella Choir at TMEA in 2014.
Was that the one where you had to tune the wine glasses?
Yes.
Oh.
We sang the piece called Stars by Erik Eschenwalds, which is, I think, an Estonian-Lithuanian composer. Latvian. His name is Erik Eschenwalds.
Okay.
And he wrote a piece called Stars that is for SATB chorus and tuned water glasses. So like in Miss Congeniality where she plays
definitely
the tuned water glasses. So it was my job as choir president to tune the glasses. And really it's because I didn't want nobody else doing it.
That's the percussionist in you there. Yeah.
So we had a set of probably 20 water glasses that we would have to tune to specific pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would do that before the concerts. And that was like a great concert. Opera performances, I mean, getting to do Nimmerino for the first time was really incredible from Elixir of Love. I did it at Landlocked Opera in Columbia, Missouri this past year, and that was really cool. But getting to do Lenski for the first time at the Russian Opera Workshop was really great in 2018. I have some great performance memories. But that choir memory is like it tops them all.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was great. Like everybody cried afterwards. We like sang really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I got some quick fire questions for you.
This is gonna be so good.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. All-time diva, pop diva of all time. Who is it?
Britney Spears.
Oh?
Who'd you think I was gonna say?
I'm surprised you didn't go a little bit more old school.
Who, like Aretha?
Yeah.
I would. My list would include Britney Spears, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston.
Get down.
Love Celine Dion is a close. Celine Dion might be first.
She is iconic.
Yeah.
Yes.
I changed my answer, Celine Dion.
Favorite rom-com?
You've Got Mail, and it's not close.
Is pineapple acceptable on pizza?
Totally.
Toilet paper over or under?
Off the roll completely.
Off the roll completely.
Off the roll completely on the counter.
That's what we do.
You also have like a cat, right?
She doesn't live with me in Oklahoma.
Okay.
But like
he did live with her for many years.
Yeah. And she would unroll it sometimes. But I think once I just like needed a new one and like didn't just put it on the hook, and I was like, now this is kind of it. I kind of really like this. You know, this is kind of really good.
What's the name of your cat?
Tomato.
Why is it Tomato?
Tomato I adopted at Pets Mart in Waco behind Outback. You know the place.
Yes.
And she was in the little cage, and it said on the paper her name was Tomato. And so I asked why her name was Tomato, and they said, well, She came from a litter of 3, and her siblings were named Bacon and Lettuce. So we have bacon, lettuce, and tomato. So I don't know what happened to bacon or lettuce, but tomato is here with me. And I think, I mean, bacon would have been cute, I guess, as a cat name. In like 2012, that would have been cute, I guess. Lettuce would have had to been changed. This is my cat Lettuce. Couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But this my cat Tomato is cute. I mean,
Yeah, tomato works.
Tomato.
what's wild? I don't really even like to eat tomatoes. I don't really. I'm
I'm
not
not a
interested in
huge.
tomato.
Yeah.
You don't like cherry
I don't like
tomatoes
cherry-
specifically.
Yeah.
though.
This is what I say about cherry tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes taste the way trash smells.
That's weird.
I don't know if that's true.
Eat a cherry tomato and then smell some bad trash.
That is a strange opinion. And I don't think I've ever heard you say that before. And I don't know where you're coming up with this. I just thought it was like you didn't like to bite into them. I've been cutting them in half. I didn't realize it was an aroma issue.
Well, it's like the size and the weight of a grape.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not like grape tomatoes.
Yeah, you're getting catfished.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god! Talk about another good show.
Justin and I used to watch Catfish like
God.
religiously.
You should have never called me a fat ass Kelly Price. Do we have to cut that out? No, leave that. Yeah. You know, that was the first episode of Catfish I ever saw. Was that episode, and it's like there's not a better episode.
You know that when I had Joel, there was very few things on the television, and that was one of them. And I watched Catfish for like 2 days.
God, what a show! That was like
Between that and the
MTV's
state
prime.
marching contest.
Yeah, well, the state marching contest didn't start until after I had been there for a little bit, so I just watched Catfish and SpongeBob when it was on.
Favorite HBCU?
Southern.
Okay, that's
That's my favorite
Yeah.
one.
I mean, Grambling.
But
I don't know.
the jukebox.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you're
We've
right.
all seen that Hello video. Or the one that was on that Netflix series where they told the girls in the color guard
Oh man,
that's what the costumers do to me sometimes in the opera. And I have to say, I've said before in a costuming, in a fitting, I've been like, this is the fabric. I'm a person. we can make changes to this. I'm a live person. You can just fix this. And so there.
is a black belt and the brown shoes acceptable?
Sometimes.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Sometimes, yes.
Ugh.
It's a look, I
Yeah,
guess.
but it is.
What about like a black shirt with khaki pants?
That's okay.
So then what's the difference?
There's a huge difference between the belt because like if
Why
you-
is the shade khaki so like? Why can khaki get away with things that brown can't?
I don't know. I mean, I've been asking that question my whole entire life.
I hate khakis.
Would I do it? No. Can other people do it? Sure. I mean, maybe they're not going to look as fresh as me, but they can do it if they want, I guess.
You have a favorite stand tune?
I heard somebody say "Hey baby" the other day, and that's okay. What is really fun for me is that now they play Oklahoma in the stands, which is really fun.
Oh yeah.
That is really fun and cool. So I love Oklahoma when they play Oklahoma because it's the opening of pregame at NSU because it's the state freaking song.
Yeah.
It's like the state song of Oklahoma. So they say like stand for the state song and it's dun 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 dun. Oklahoma where the wind comes sweeping down the place. You said you wanted somebody to sing, so
Finally, you got your wish. We got the singer on and he sang.
What's a word you hate hearing?
I'm gonna get really like teachery with this, and it's I can't.
No, yeah.
When the singers are in there and they say I can't do that, and I have to stop myself from saying, then maybe get out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Who do you text the most?
I don't know, like for a few different people, like whoever I need to talk to. I got stuff going on that I gotta talk to people about. I don't know, like whoever I need to talk to in that moment.
His click, dang.
Yeah.
You have a favorite store?
Costco.
What's the website that you visit the most often?
IMSLP.
IMSLP?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, probably. Or like the Gmail website version for my university email.
That's what I do too.
Yeah. I'm consistently checking my email.
Well, I don't have it. I don't have like I have the Gmail app for my like singer email, but I don't have the Gmail app for my work email.
That's what
I'm
I
not
do.
interested in that.
I am not interested in that either. Sorry if you're listening, but
If you had a spy code name, what would it be?
J Money.
Is there a movie you quote the most often?
I don't know. I feel like I quote a lot of movies. Like I feel like I quote like Forrest Gump a lot, or like Bridesmaids, like a true millennial.
Bridesmaids is.
I also think, and Alexa's also gonna laugh at this. I don't think I can go like look at an ice cream section and not say aloud, "Do you have any butter pecan?"
Some Sister Act.
Yeah, but I think I quote more like Drag Race things.
Yeah.
Like I do this bit that I think is like so funny and no one ever laughs, and it's or let's say, Jose, what day of the week is it?
What day is it? Saturday.
And I'll say, who told you that? And so it's like I'll ask me a really obvious question, which clearly on key signature is not obvious to you.
No, not right now.
Wow. And so then I'll hit back with, who told you that? And I think that's really funny. And that's from Drag Race, because there was an episode where the drag queen Alyssa Edwards, who's from Dallas, who's like really fun, my favorite one. And they were doing a challenge, and she was like, I don't know, girl, I'm gonna have to get out my Clef's notes. I have to get my Clef's notes. And one of the other drag queens was like, it's Cliff's notes. The man is Cliff who wrote the notes. And she said, who told you that? And I think that is so funny. And so I'll do that in a voice lesson sometimes. And, or in like oral theory class, when I'm like, we're doing sight singing, and I'll be like, okay, we got 2 flats, starts on B flat, ends on B flat. What key are we in? And some child will say B flat, and I'll say, who told you that? and they'll say, my brain? I don't know. Me.
Do you have a hidden talent?
None that I'm willing to disclose here on this podcast. I don't know. Not really. I know a lot of state capitals, a lot of national capitals. I could identify every country in the world on a map. How about that? Is that a hidden talent?
Do you play the global every day?
Girl, yeah.
That's what.
If someone played you in a movie, who would it be?
I mean, like, I would love for it to be like Dan Levy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everybody on Earth would say Jack Black, which is really offensive to me. So that was like, I got Jack Black a lot when I had like longer hair.
Yeah.
In like, when we were in high school. And then around people like, oh my God, you look Jack Black. And I would be like, shut up. Don't say that to me.
Like, Nathan Lane in his prime might work.
How about Andrew Rannells?
Sure.
I think that's fun.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. I think he'd be
someone
good.
like that.
Yeah.
Favorite opera?
Eugene Onegin, Tchaikovsky, or Hansel and Gretel.
If there was one opera you could perform in, only one, what would it be?
Eugene Onegin. Every role, Leslie, Tatiana, and maybe Olga. Definitely Eugene.
I think you could do it. I would like to see that.
I would love to do that.
All right. If it wasn't voice, what would you have done?
I have 2 options. I would either have been, okay, so I had braces as an adult, as like a 27-year-old.
That.
So I didn't have it in high school. I think if I would have had braces in high school and gone to an orthodontist in high school, I would have been like, yeah, I want to do this. Because I had a great experience at my orthodontist, and I would have loved to do that. So either an orthodontist or a meteorologist, a weather person on TV. Love to watch the weather. And would love to have done that. How fun would that have been? A little weatherman? I'd be just like this old Rusty Garrett up there.
Oh, Rusty Garrett.
That's funny.
Bringing Central Texans the news.
What did they call the thing, the travel? They still do it. The traveling around the school thing and talk about like it's like Project Tornado or something.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember
that?
Yes.
They also...
That's kind of terrifying as an elementary school child.
In Oklahoma, when the weather gets bad, they have like storm chasers that are affiliated with the TV station that are out in the field watching, and that they like tap in on the phone. And they say, I can see it. I can see the funnel. It's out there. I'm looking at it. I'm looking northwest. I see it.
So have you watched Twister since you've lived in Oklahoma?
I went to see the new Twister.
I haven't seen it.
In the movie theater in Tahlequah. And it was rainy.
I was about to ask if it was
stormy that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was fun. It's fun. But it is a little like, I've heard the tornado sirens, I think, twice in Tahlequah. But there's something about Tahlequah, the weather always like goes around it. So it's like, one day it was like stormy, and so I went home from school. So because I just bought a new car because I got that professor money.
Yeah.
And so I bought a new car, and I was like, if it's gonna hail, I'm gonna put it in my garage.
Mm-hmm.
So I like went home from school early, and when I got home, the sirens were going off, and so I like have lived in Oklahoma long enough, I guess, to like hear the sirens and go out and look to see if I can see it rather than take cover. And I couldn't see it, so I was like, well, I'm not gonna get got, I guess. So
Do you have a storm shelter?
no, I mean I have an interior bathroom. I mean I live in a duplex, so I can. There's like reinforced center walls.
Yeah. That's nice.
Well, I think that's all I got.
That's it.
Yes, that's it.
Heavens.
Would you like to yap some more?
No, I don't know. I think these people are tired of listening. Nobody's made it to the end.
Do you have anything you want to plug?
If you made it to the end, drop a comment. I don't know. What do I plug? If you're a young high school student looking to be in band in college and would like to move to rural Oklahoma, we got scholarship at Northeastern State University.
Do you have any roles coming up?
Yeah, I'm singing Tamino in the Magic Flute with Painted Sky Opera in Oklahoma City, August 14th, 15th, and 17th, 2025. And a Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. A Thursday, Friday, and Sunday before the fall semester starts, which is really stressful for me, but that's okay. So that's coming up. And then I haven't signed the contracts, but I have the email. I'm singing the tenor solos in the Messiah with the Oklahoma City Philharmonic in December. How fun is that?
Is that the one where you stand up?
I gotta tell the story now.
You hate the Hallelujah chorus or what?
No, I have to tell the story now because it doesn't work without context. So you stand for the Hallelujah chorus. Okay. So one time my sister and I go to the Dallas Symphony Orchestra playing the Christmas like pops concert or whatever. And they get to We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
And she stands up?
And she goes to stand up. And I'm like old enough at this point to be like, you know, super smart about music. But I was in college and I knew some things. And she goes to stand up for We Wish You a Merry Christmas. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Sit down.
What are you doing? She was like,
have a seat.
Isn't this the one you're
No, diva.
Is anybody else standing up? Are you the only one standing up? So yeah, that's what we always joke about now. You stand up for We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
I thought this was going to be a Joyce Jones story.
Oh no! Is there a Joyce Jones story?
Didn't she play something where you
stood up?
Didn't she?
I feel this sounds right, but I don't know what it is. We'd have to.
Or maybe she played. No, you know what she would play? She would play that Charles Ives Fantasia on America or something.
Yeah.
Theme and variations on whatever. Who knew?
Yes.
Did you go to that recital with me for Joyce Jones where her and Kirk Kaiser? She brought Kirk Kaiser up and he played "I'd Rather Have Jesus" and she sang.
I don't think so.
First of all, rich with Joyce Jones.
Yes.
What a diva.
Yes.
The truest diva.
Yes.
You don't remember that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I remember going to see her play, but I don't remember her ever singing.
It was at Truett at Baylor, and we went to a
I don't think I've ever been to Truett.
Anyway, Kirk Kaiser was there. He got up on the stage. He played piano while she sang. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather have Jesus than riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today.
Was she wearing her gold shoes?
Yes, of course she was.
No, I don't.
There's something about like old ladies singing. Especially,
It's just fun.
yeah,
It is fun.
yeah. It's just like the oboe. You know, it's either okay, that's good, or like okay.
Talk about the oboe. You hate the oboe?
There's only two settings for oboe: awful and great.
There's not a lot of in between.
There's not. There's it's really like it's like a counter tenor.
I'm not. It's whack. Why would you do that? Why would you sing like that? Sing manly. Do that.
I don't know. Not my monkey, not my circus.
That's what I would say.
Well, that's all I have.
It's been a slice, you guys. A total slice.
Thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
It was a blast. All you people thinking of switching to voice, do it. No, don't.
I think we're too far gone to make a full-on switch. Maybe some supplemental, but
That's true.
maybe not.
You can speak, you can sing. Okay? Everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it.
Well, Jose, you got anything else?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well,
Be
thanks.
blessed.
Thanks for listening to Band Yap. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
We out.
Don't forget, FanPledge is changing the game for band fundraising. Shawn Murphy can help you ditch the product sales and still bring in record-breaking support for your program. And with the 10% guarantee, there's zero risk. Give Shawn a call at 903-948-7348 to get started. One more time, 903-948-7348. FanPledge, fundraising that actually works.